Chapter 1659. The Five Elements Flower instantly changed. If it was said that the Five Elements flower was gentle at the beginning, then it instantly became tyrannical. It was extremely tyrannical. All of a sudden, it began to sweep towards Berserker Blade, directly condensing into a hurricane that swept across the sky, forming a huge torrent of energy that fiercely bombarded Berserker Blade. How is this possible? How can this be? Berserker Blade was shocked. How could this happen? The situation had been reversed all of a sudden. Seeing this scene, the face of the Demon King's successor immediately turned pale because he seemed to have figured out why. Don't you understand? Yi Shiwen's cold voice sounded. At this time, if Berserker Blade still didn't understand, then he would really be a fool. In fact, he was not a fool. On the contrary, he was extremely smart, and at the same time, he was also an exceptionally cruel and cold-blooded person. Yes, now, your fate is all in my hands. Yi Shiwen grabbed the spear of violent thunder and felt as if it was merging with the entire treasure house. The entire treasure house seemed to be under his control. Although he was only in control of the treasure house's key, he couldn't fully display the treasure house's full power because the Real Control Hall of the treasure house was located in the deepest part of the treasure house. Currently, he had no way of getting in touch with it. But even so, with the complete mastery of the Spear of Violent Thunder, Yi Shiwen could already control the formation outside. Just now, the Demon King's successor only used a part of the Spear of Violent Thunder to mobilize the formation to besiege and even kill Yi Shiwen. But now, Yi Shiwen could completely use the Spear of Violent Thunder to suddenly change the target of the formation to them. In other words, you are dead. Yi Shiwen waved the Spear of Violent Thunder, and suddenly endless thunder directly fell from the sky, directly striking at Berserker Blade. Boom! 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 In the sky, thunder fell continuously, directly hitting Berserker Blade's body. Almost the entire sky was filled with such thunder and the flower of five elements. Ah! Berserker Blade screamed. He still couldn't withstand it and was directly struck by the thunder on the spot. Instantly, they were heavily injured. To these artifact spirits, the heavenly thunder was the most terrifying existence. To them, perhaps there was nothing more terrifying than this. Even if he was a celestial realm late-stage expert, he wouldn't be any better in this formation. After grasping the complete spear of lightning, the strength of this formation was much more terrifying than when it was controlled by the Demon Lord's successor. Its strength instantly increased by a level, and even a late Heaven Realm expert like the Blade of Fury was heavily injured. Damn it, go to hell! Berserk Blade wanted to launch a surprise attack on Yi Shiwen. In his opinion, as long as he killed Yi Shiwen, then they would be able to escape from this crisis. However, he didn't even have the time to attack when countless heavenly thunders mixed with the five elements flowers smashed towards him. It was as if a huge torrent of lightning had smashed into Berserk Blade. It seemed as if the lightning would instantly crush Berserk Blade to death. At this time, Berserk Blade retreated again and again. How could he have the heart to continue chasing after Yi Shiwen? At this time, Yi Shiwen only had the heart to look at Yu Lian. Yu Lian had been sneak attacked by Berserk Blade and was then seriously injured by him. At this time, her situation wasn't good. Young master, I'm useless. Yu Lian looked at Yi Shiwen with a somewhat gloomy smile and said, as if she was going to disappear at any time. No, you've done very well. You bought enough time for me. That's enough. Today, this is the day they die. Yi Shiwen said with a cold face. This time, he absolutely couldn't let him escape. He absolutely had to let him die without a burial place. He patiently controlled the entire formation. At this time, Man Yun had also retreated to his side. At this time, within the formation, the main target was Berserk Blade. At this time, Berserk Blade had almost been beaten to a pulp. All kinds of terrifying forces were acting on it. At this time, his spirit had become increasingly weak, as if it would completely shatter at any time. On the other side, the Demon King's successor was not much better. He was completely trapped in the formation, constantly screaming. Yi Shiwen continued to input qi into Yu Lian. However, he could barely maintain Yu Lian's vitality. He couldn't completely heal her. Yu Lian's spirit was severely injured, but her body was not seriously affected. Young master, don't worry about me. Your important matter is more important, Yu Lian said while panting. No, even if it's for Yimo, I won't give up on you. Yi Shiwen shook his head and said. Yimo was like a brother to him. Based on this alone, he wouldn't just watch Yu Lian die. Why don't you open the treasure house first? Since this is the treasure house left by the Demon King, there should be all kinds of medicinal pellets and the like. Maybe it can cure her injuries. Man Yin said on the side, and most importantly, now the masters of various forces are rushing here. Although you can use the formation here, if they don't enter this formation, what can you do to them? The only way is to enter the depths of the treasure house and truly control the treasure house. Previously, the Demon King's successor had to use this method to lure Yi Shiwen over because he couldn't completely control the entire treasure house. He could only say that he could use some of the peripheral formations. To truly control the entire treasure house, it was possible to enter the depths of the treasure house. Yi Shiwen pondered for a moment. Indeed, if he let them rush in, the danger would definitely be greater than the Demon King's successor. After pondering for a moment, Yi Shiwen did not hesitate at all. He directly slashed across the sky. Endless rays of light burst out from the violent thunder spear. Countless runes appeared out of thin air and flew into the door of the treasure house. Rumble! The entire treasury slowly opened up. Suddenly, a powerful energy rushed out. Countless treasures and elixir smells came rushing out. Yi Shiwen only took a breath and instantly felt like his entire body was being cleansed. One must know that he had already stepped into the 7th level of Celestial Realm, and his tyrant body had perfectly entered the 10th level. It was very difficult to improve even a little bit, but now, just taking a breath actually had the effect of cleansing his marrow and meridians. Man Yun at the side was even more exaggerated. Her aura was actually faintly uncontrollable, showing signs of breaking through to the Celestial Realm intermediate stage. However, she forcefully suppressed it because she was very clear that this wasn't the time to break through. Yi Shiwen carried Yu Lian and directly rushed into the treasure house. Man Yun hesitated for a moment, but also rushed in with him. Seeing that Yi Shiwen didn't seem to want to chase her out, she couldn't help but feel an inexplicable feeling in her heart. Ah! Suddenly, there was a scream, and the berserk blade was completely bombarded into pieces in the entire formation. Only the body was left, a strangely shaped sword that emitted a berserk power. Yi Shiwen casually waved his hand, and the berserk blade fell into his hand uncontrollably. At first, it struggled a little, but under Yi Shiwen's forceful suppression, it was useless. It couldn't escape. Then, he casually swiped his hand, and the remaining original spirit was also completely wiped out by him. He wouldn't show any mercy at all. Just now, the berserk blade almost succeeded and almost killed him. At this time, he wouldn't show any mercy at all. Without the berserk blade, the entire formation's power blasted towards the Demon Lord's successor. Not long after, the Demon Lord's successor was blasted to death, and not a single bit of him was left. Seeing the Demon Lord's successor die tragically, Yi Shiwen finally felt relieved and entered the treasure house. However, not long after he entered, the Demon Lord's successor, who was supposed to die tragically, suddenly came back to life. He looked at Yi Shiwen, who had entered the treasure house, with a gloomy expression. Damn it, I wasted a scapegoat doll. This is a special doll that the Demon Lord obtained when he conquered the mysterious witch world. It was cast with a mysterious witchcraft. I only have this one in my hand. I thought I would use it for the most critical Tao confirming tribulation, but I didn't expect to use it here. Damn it, I will definitely not let you go. He roared with a hideous expression. However, as soon as he was resurrected, the entire formation was activated once again, bombarding him with an earth-shattering bombardment. Damn it, am I a genius going to die here? He roared angrily, and at the same time, he was in extreme despair. The situation between him and Yi Shiwen had been completely reversed, from him having the upper hand to Yi Shiwen having complete control over his life and death. Damn liar, to think that you would have such a day. Obediently hand over the violent thunder spear, or you will really die." At this time, dozens of tyrannical figures appeared in the sky. Among them were a few old demons. Each of them was incomparably terrifying, and each of them had slaughtered countless creatures. They were originally cultivating in the depths of the demon world, but they were tricked out by the demon lord's successor. It could be said that they were the strongest experts in the celestial realm. At this time, one of the terrifying giant demons said. The giant demon race was also a powerful race in the demon race. Although they couldn't compare to the 8 great royal families, their heritage was still very deep. This giant demon was one of the few remaining ancestors of the giant demon race. He had been deceived by the successor of the demon king, but he didn't expect that the violent thunder spear would be taken away by the successor of the demon king. At this time, he saw the demon lord's successor again, only to find him trapped in the formation. Naturally, he felt like he had worn out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it effortlessly. Chapter 1660. Not only this giant demon old ancestor, but there were also a few peak celestial realm old ancestors who smiled viciously. They all looked at the demon lord's heir with a vicious expression. Not only them, but there were also dozens of celestial realm and above celestial realm ancestors. They all smiled viciously as they looked at the demon lord's successor. The rage in their hearts was accumulating. At this time, the demon lord's successor naturally understood why they were targeting him. He immediately shouted, "The violent lightning spear isn't in my hands. It has been taken away by someone else. Otherwise, I wouldn't be trapped here." Many demon race ancestors exchanged glances with one another, as if they were doubting whether what he said was true or not. At this time, the Devil King's successor was constantly screaming. The whole formation was constantly bombarding him, and the terrible destructive power was directly destroying his body. This was because Yi Shiwen was not present. If he was under Yi Shiwen's control, then it wouldn't take long for this formation to bombard him until his bones and flesh were scattered. "I don't think he's lying." At this time, the giant demon ancestor said in a muffled voice. The other devil race ancestors also exchanged a glance with each other. It seemed that the successor of the devil lord was telling the truth. Otherwise, why would he be on the verge of being struck to death? "Quickly save me. That fellow stole my violent lightning spear. At this time, only I know where he went." The demon lord's successor quickly shouted. "Then let's save him first." At this time, one of the hidden demon race ancestors said. The other ancestors nodded their heads in agreement. At this time, it seemed like only they could work together to break this formation. Honglong, dozens of celestial realm experts attacked, and with a loud bang, the entire formation was smashed into pieces. Although this formation was laid down by the demon lord, after all, there was no one to control it. Facing such a terrifying group of experts, it was broken on the spot. At this moment, the giant demon clan ancestor coldly said, "Don't even think about escaping, or else I'll crush you." The descendant of the devil monarch nodded, his body drenched in cold sweat, and the wounds on his body were rapidly recovering. At this time, dozens of powerful experts locked their divine senses on him, as if they would crush him at any time. None of them were weaker than the demon lord's successor. It was precisely because of this that the demon lord's successor was able to trick them all. Compared to them, the demon lord's successor was simply too weak. Any one of them could deal with him. Not to mention, half of them were intermediate celestial realm, late celestial realm, and peak celestial realm experts. It wasn't that the demon lord's successor was weak, but that none of them were simple. Each of them was like an old monster that had cultivated for thousands of years. Many of them cultivated in the depths of the demon world, and they didn't know how they were tricked by him. No, after he snatched my tempest spear, he opened the door to the treasury and went in. Now we must go in as soon as possible. Otherwise, once he controls the entire treasury, we will die without a burial place." The successor of the demon lord hurriedly said. At this time, many demons noticed that the door of the treasury in the sky was already open. Originally, they should have noticed it, but they were attracted by the demon lord's successor, so they ignored such an obvious thing. The demon lord's successor couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. If these old demons noticed that the door of the treasury was already open, they would definitely not save him and let him fend for himself. The faces of the many demons immediately changed. They knew very well what would happen if the successor of the demon lord was right. If they were to be controlled by the treasury, they would all die. Let's go and kill that guy first, then we'll divide the treasury, the giant demon clan's ancestor said in a muffled voice. Yes, that's right. Let's kill that guy first. There are so many treasures and medicinal auras. Just smelling it makes my whole body feel transparent. It's really worthy of being the demon lord's treasury. The depth of the heritage is simply unimaginable. Let's go up first. At this time, many demons roared and rushed up. These demons, who would usually kill and devour each other when they met, rushed up for the same purpose. Yi Shiwen held Yu Lian and Man Yun in his arms and rushed into the treasure house. He suddenly felt an even stronger fragrance assaulting his nostrils. Suddenly, all the pores on his body opened and absorbed all the medicinal fragrance. Then, he did a physical examination. His whole body was crackling, and then his 7 orifices began to emit colorful rays of light. After a long time, he finally caught his breath. Comfortable. He immediately felt comfortable. At this time, he finally understood why Yimo always encouraged him to come to the demon realm to accept the demon lord's inheritance. He suddenly felt like he had become rich overnight. Although he had a lot of wealth before, compared to the wealth left by the demon lord, he was simply a poor loser. At this moment, he suddenly felt like crying. He was really too stupid in the past. If he had come earlier, he would have been able to get his hands on the demon lord's treasure earlier. Then, he might have achieved far more than what he was now. He might even have reached the heaven realm long ago. However, if he had come earlier, even if he could subdue Yu Lian, he still couldn't do anything to the violent thunder spear. No one expected that the violent thunder spear would have the intention to rebel. In other words, the most unexpected thing was that the violent thunder spear, which only existed as a key in the past, actually had spiritual wisdom. This was the root cause of such a big storm. He would have gotten nothing even if he had come earlier. At a glance, Yi Shiwen saw the sky full of restrictions and boundaries. Behind the sky full of restrictions and boundaries, there were endless pellets. All of them were standard-grade pellets. All kinds of pellets that were rarely seen in the outside world were piled up here like garbage. Not only demon pellets, but there were also many pellets that belonged to the human clan and the demon clan. There were also many pellets that Yi Shiwen himself couldn't recognize. Many of them couldn't even be named. All of them were on the other side of the restrictions. The pellets behind the glittering and translucent boundaries were like a dream. Any one of these pellets would cause a sensation in the outside world. But here, they were no different from cabbages on the roadside. Further away, there were countless martial instruments. Compared to the outside world, almost every martial instrument here was at the ultimate level. There wasn't even a heaven-level martial instrument. One could imagine how extravagant it was. Looking inside, it was misty. Even Yi Shiwen's eyesight couldn't see through it. What the F***CK? Yi Shiwen couldn't help but say these words. I feel like I'm going from a poor loser to a tall, rich, and handsome man. Just what I see in front of me is enough to match the huge assets of a marquee clan. Even with his mental fortitude, he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. He was completely surprised, not to mention Man Yun, who was next to him. Even though she was born in a wealthy family, the Azura clan had never been stingy with resources for her. But when she saw these pellets and magic weapons, she was still extremely shocked. Is this the foundation of the Demon King? And further away, in places that she couldn't see, there should be more magic weapons. But it was just a shock. Yi Shiwen immediately calmed down. Now wasn't the time to think about this. If he waited for the people behind him to catch up, then it might be an extremely fierce battle. Immediately, he stretched out his hand and grabbed at the barrier. Bang! There was a huge roar. As a result, Yi Shiwen's hand was completely bounced back. Even with his strength, he couldn't break these boundaries. Young master, these boundaries were set up by the Demon King. Unless your strength is higher than his, you can't open them at all. Young master, if you want to open them now, the only way is to find the control mechanism of the first layer. Yu Lian said weakly in Yi Shiwen's arms. The first layer? Are there several layers in this treasure house? Yi Shiwen asked. That's right. This Demon King's treasure house is also divided into several layers. With young master's strength, you can only open the first layer. If you want to open the second layer and pass through the fog, the only way is after young master surpasses the celestial realm. Yu Lian said, this is also because the Demon King is afraid that you will be too dependent on these external objects. When your strength is enough, you can open these restrictions. At that time, you will be able to use them. There's actually such a restriction. Yi Shiwen was a little depressed. Originally, he thought that he would be able to become rich in a short time. In a few years, he would be able to surpass the celestial realm. Now it seemed that it wouldn't be so easy. But with his wisdom, he dispelled these unrealistic thoughts in a short while. On the path of cultivation, there was no room for deception. He could deceive others, but he couldn't deceive himself on the path of cultivation. In the end, he would be cheated, but he didn't stay for long. He immediately walked towards the depths of the main hall. Along the way, all kinds of magic weapons and elixirs appeared in front of him. There were many magic weapons and elixirs that even he couldn't name. But he was in a good mood. With these, he could even set up his own faction and build a behemoth that could compete with the Yi family. When he passed through the magic treasures and elixirs area, suddenly, a huge mecha appeared in front of him. Yes, he rubbed his eyes. That shining metallic texture, it really looked like a mecha, right? Chapter 1661. Even in his previous life, this kind of thing only existed in novels and science fiction. Now he suddenly saw it. Young master, this is a treasure that the demon lord obtained when he conquered a mechanical plane. As long as one has this, even a normal person can jump to the peak of the heaven realm. There are even stronger mechanical puppets inside, similar to the mechanical beasts outside. They are all left behind from the past. Yu Lian panted as she said. Yi Shiwen was shocked in his heart. A world capable of producing such a powerful plane was actually conquered by the Devil King, and these awe-inspiring weapons were merely spoils of war, nothing more. However, to Yi Shiwen, it was like rain at the right time. Let's go, let's control this treasury first. When the time comes, no matter how many enemies come, I won't be afraid. Yi Shiwen said. It was useless to covet these things now. He couldn't break the restrictions left by the Demon Lord. I didn't expect there to be such a place. The aura of treasure and medicine is so strong that I suddenly feel like the place I've been staying in before is nothing more than a remote and desolate place. One of the devil race's old ancestors said. Many of the other demons also looked distressed. At their level, they could basically be regarded as kings and ancestors. The place where they cultivated was naturally the best place in the entire race. Naturally, it couldn't be considered a poor and desolate place. However, when they truly felt the environment within the treasury, even these heaven realm experts couldn't help but feel emotional. That's right. Compared to this place, my place is even worse than dog shit. If we can cultivate here every day, even if we can't improve by leaps and bounds, we can still improve terrifyingly fast. Another demon race old ancestor exclaimed. The most important thing was that this wasn't spiritual energy or demon energy, but treasure energy and medicinal energy that could be absorbed directly. Even these celestial realm old ancestors were really excited. Now isn't the time to talk about this. The key now is to stop that fellow from controlling the entire treasury. Otherwise, no matter how hard you work, in the end, you will only die tragically in his hands and die without a burial place. At this moment, the descendant of the demon lord hurriedly reminded them. A look of disgust flashed across his face. These things were supposed to be his, but now they were going to benefit these old fellows. However, at this time, there was no other way. If they could use a treasury to get rid of that person, then it would be worth it. A look of madness flashed in his eyes. As long as he could get rid of Yi Shiwen, it would be worth it no matter what price he had to pay. As for these old fellows, when he ruled the world in the future, not only would they die without a burial place, but even their tribes would be completely destroyed. However, he didn't give up. He definitely wouldn't give up until the very end. If he could get rid of these old fellows, then he would definitely not be stingy. This was a peerless and ambitious character. After being reminded by him, many devils immediately came to their senses. This place was indeed magical, but it was useless no matter how magical it was. If they couldn't stop Yishiwen, then even if they died, they wouldn't be able to die in peace. Moreover, it wasn't that there weren't any demons who tried to move the pills behind the barrier, but the result was that they couldn't move them at all. It seemed like the only way was to snatch the key. Otherwise, they would have nothing to do with it. Whoosh! 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 The figures of these devils turned into streams of light and flew into the depths of the hall. Suddenly, they finally arrived at the deepest part of the treasure house. They saw Yishiwen sitting on a towering throne. His body seemed to be wrapped in a terrifying aura. Not far behind him, in two barriers, Yu Lian was healing her injuries. Her spirit body was becoming more and more corporeal. The spirit body was one of the most fragile physiques. It wasn't like other physical bodies. This was also the reason why Yu Lian had almost died on the spot after she had suffered serious injuries. Even Yishiwen couldn't do anything about it. In another barrier, Manyan was trying to break through to the celestial realm intermediate stage. These old demons were all experienced and knew what Manyan was doing right away. Especially the two Azura race late-stage celestial realm old demons. When they saw Manyan, their eyes were filled with shock and fear. They originally thought that Manyan was dead. They didn't expect that she was still alive. This was the most terrifying thing. Once Manyan went out and told this matter to the ancestor, both of their tribes would be uprooted and destroyed on the spot. Both of them would die as well. Although the Azura race was one of the 8 royal races of the demon world, the Azura race was divided into many tribes. This was the same logic as the human race, but they were divided into many factions. No, we can't let her get out alive. Otherwise, it will be our time to die. At this moment, their eyes were filled with determination. They definitely couldn't let Manyan go. You're all here for the treasury? You know that I might control the entire treasury, but you still dare to come. Should I say that you're brave or greedy? On the throne, Yishiwen leaned against the back of the chair. He had a disdainful smile on his face as he looked at these people coldly. Could it be that you control the entire treasury? A demon asked. Thinking of this, all the demons became serious. If they were really controlled by Yishiwen, then wouldn't they die without a burial place? If that was the case, going against Yishiwen would be courting death. Right now, he must have only just obtained control over the entire treasure vault. He might have only obtained a portion of the treasures. Otherwise, how could we have come here? Everyone, let's work together and kill him. We still have a chance. To put it bluntly, he is just the 7th heaven of the heaven realm. As long as we can kill him, we will have a chance to divide the entire treasure vault. At this time, the successor of the demon monarch immediately shouted when he saw everyone retreating. At this time, if they retreated, wouldn't it be like drawing water with a bamboo basket? Yes, if we kill him now, we still have hope. Kill him. Boy, obediently hand over the treasury key, and I will save your life. This was a plan to kill with a borrowed knife, but these demon ancestors were willing to be the knife. They wanted to live, but they also wanted the wealth and the treasury, so they would not give up easily. I didn't expect that you're still alive. Yishiwen glanced at the demon king's successor and said with a sneer, if you didn't die and escaped, then I really wouldn't be able to do anything to you. But you just had to appear in front of me. I don't know if you've heard of the saying, if you don't court death, you won't die. Arrogant with just you? You don't even have control of the treasury, and you want to deal with us? Suddenly, a demon sneered and said, knowing that Yishiwen still couldn't control the entire treasury, all the demons immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Indeed, I only got a portion of the treasury, but just this portion is already something you can't imagine. Yishiwen sneered at them and said, if you all escaped just now, then there would still be hope. But now, none of you can think about leaving. What? None of us can think about leaving. I think you've really lost your mind. All the demons were furious. To them, Yi Shiwen had already been forced into a dead end by them, but he still dared to be so arrogant. Ha ha ha. Do you think I'm bluffing and that I don't have any strength at all? Yi Shiwen sneered and said, then I'll let you all see where my true confidence lies. You'll never be able to imagine it. Today, none of you can think about leaving. I think you've really lost your mind. A mere celestial realm cultivator actually dares to be arrogant in front of us. At this moment, an initial celestial realm expert slapped over. In the void, it tore through the sky and instantly slapped towards Yi Shiwen. His cultivation was really thick and could be compared to Feng Zhong, who was defeated by Yi Shiwen. In terms of strength, he was definitely able to dominate initial celestial realm experts. You actually dare to attack me. I think all of you have been tricked by him. Do you really think I'm just a normal celestial realm expert? Yi Shiwen laughed coldly. He opened his hand and slammed it down on the early stage celestial realm expert. Countless laws of the martial path flashed within, and the early stage celestial realm expert's hand exploded in the air. Ah! The initial celestial realm old demon instantly cried out in pain as his entire arm was smashed by Yi Shiwen. His eyes were filled with shock, and he finally understood what kind of monster he had offended. At this moment, all of them retreated and didn't dare to get close. This exchange was enough to make him realize how big the gap between him and Yi Shiwen was. But if he wanted to leave, Yi Shiwen didn't give him any chance. He stomped down and instantly disappeared. When he appeared once more, he was behind the initial celestial realm old ancestor and slapped down with a palm. Bang! The patriarch let out a blood-curdling scream as his entire body exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Just one move to kill an initial celestial realm expert. Instantly, everyone was shocked. Chapter 1662. Was this really just a seventh sky of heaven realm expert? None of them had seen such a ferocious seventh sky of heaven realm expert. In reality, the reason why everyone was hopeful was because they all felt that this was just a mere seventh sky of heaven realm. He was just lucky. How could he be compared to them? As long as they made a move, even if it was just for an instant, it would be enough to completely finish him off. This was where their confidence came from. A seventh sky of heaven realm expert was nothing in their eyes. He was just an ant. However, they didn't expect that the moment this ant came up, he gave them a show of strength, and it wasn't just an ordinary show of strength. An initial stage heaven realm expert was a famous figure even in the demon world. Although he was at the bottom among them, he was definitely a big figure in the demon world. Now that he was slapped to death with one palm, how could they not be shocked? Even if they knew that Yi Shiwen's strength couldn't be judged by realm, they didn't expect Yi Shiwen to be so strong. He didn't fight with Yi Shiwen head-on twice. Now that he saw it, Yi Shiwen was actually holding on to this extent. His aura was obviously much stronger than before. It was obvious that he had a fortuitous encounter just now. The more such an enemy was, the more terrifying it was. How much time had passed, and he had already become like this. If he was allowed to continue, the situation in the future would be unimaginable. Especially after he monopolized the resources of the entire treasury, it would be even more terrifying. At that time, he could only avoid him in the future. When everyone's eyes flashed again, Yi Shiwen had already returned to his throne. He was high up, looking down at everyone with a cold expression, like a real god. I think you are looking to die. A mere stage 7 celestial dares to speak to us like that. At this moment, the peak celestial realm old ancestor laughed coldly and hollered. Swish! A huge mace instantly appeared in his hand. It was like a small mountain, and then it smashed down towards Yi Shiwen fiercely. It was fast and urgent, as if it didn't give Yi Shiwen any time to hide. Dang! A loud sound. The sky seemed to have been smashed into a huge crack, and the mace in his hand was actually blocked. It stopped 3 inches in front of Yi Shiwen, and the terrifying wind blew Yi Shiwen's hair into a mess. Yi Shiwen's fist blocked the mace's head. The mace was like a small hill, but it was completely blocked by his fist. The incomparably sharp spikes were completely flattened, and on Yi Shiwen's fist, there was actually a metallic luster. Immediately afterward, a touch of metallic texture spread out from his fist and instantly enveloped his entire body, making his entire person seem as if he had turned into a mecha. That's right, this was the same mecha that he had seen before. He had taken the opportunity to refine it. Although he still couldn't display its full power, but it was enough. This mecha had completely integrated into his flesh and blood. What is this? The great ancestor looked at Yi Shiwen in shock. He couldn't understand how he had become such a metal man. That's why I said just now, if you had escaped before, you might still have had time. But now, you're dead. Yi Shiwen's voice also changed into a metallic luster. In an instant, he suddenly stepped on the ground, and his whole body tore through the sky with a loud whistling sound. His body disappeared on the spot, and when he reappeared, he was already in front of the great ancestor of the giant demon clan. Clang! With a loud clanging sound, a long sword appeared in Yi Shiwen's hand. Countless sword principles were constantly surging on it, and the terrifying sword light overlapped countless times. Yi Shiwen instantly slashed in front of the great ancestor of the giant demon clan. Dang! The great ancestor of the giant demon clan reacted very quickly. His hill-like figure instantly flew back for some distance, and then he raised the huge mace. Dang! There was another terrible roar as the sword light chopped down on the mace, setting off a sky-covering wave of chi. It seemed as if the entire sky was about to be overturned. That mace, which was refined from an unknown material, was actually broken into pieces, and cracks appeared on it. The giant demon's body was also pushed back repeatedly. One could imagine just how great the power of that sword was. How is this possible? How did this fellow become so strong all of a sudden? What is that layer? What armor? I've never seen it before. That layer is a mechanism. It was once a prosperous world, and the people of that world were famous for this mechanism. At this moment, someone who was knowledgeable recognized it. What the hell is this thing? It's actually so strong that it can allow a Stage 7 Celestial Realm kid to actually force back the old ghost's attack? Everyone was shocked. It was as if they were completely stunned by the power of this mecha. No matter what, let's attack first and kill him. We've already come this far. Do you want us to give up? At this moment, another peak Celestial Realm old ancestor spoke up. Didn't you hear what he said? At this moment, even if we want to retreat, he definitely won't let us go. Attack, let's work together to destroy him. We'll let him know that even if he gets the treasure, a Celestial Realm is just a Celestial Realm in front of us. That's right, kill this kid. We can't let this kid continue to be so arrogant. Facing the situation where everyone wanted to work together, Yi Shiwen's expression didn't change at all. Waves of vast power spread out from his body, forming a strong airflow that boiled around his body. He didn't move recklessly, and he was also constantly adapting to the power of the mecha. He was also continuously refining the mecha, making himself more compatible with the mecha. Shwa! Suddenly, a figure appeared around him. It was the late Celestial Realm old ancestor of the hidden demon clan. His speed was extremely fast, and under a sneak attack, even a peak Celestial Realm old ancestor could be killed by him. There was no one who didn't have a headache when it came to assassination. Get out of my way! Yi Shiwen shouted coldly, and a terrifying power boiled out from his body. Countless sword lights spurted out from each of his pores and swept out in a frenzy. Bang! The old ancestor of the hidden demon clan didn't have time to attack and was sent flying by Yi Shiwen. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? How could you have noticed? The old ancestor of the hidden demon clan looked at Yi Shiwen in disbelief, as if he couldn't believe that Yi Shiwen actually had such terrifying strength. Even his sneak attack couldn't hurt Yi Shiwen at all. Stupid. Yi Shiwen sneered and didn't intend to explain further. Mighty existence of the demon realm, immortal will, lend some power to your humble servant. Then, a loud and clear song spread from the devil army. A dreadful power surged in the sky above Yi Shiwen. Almost in an instant, an unparalleled long river of energy blasted towards Yishiwen. This was a very mysterious clan among the Devil Clan, the Cursed Demon Clan. It was said that the devils of this clan were born with the ability to communicate with the heaven and earth. They could communicate with the heaven and earth using spells and borrow the power of the heaven and earth to kill their opponents. Suddenly, the color of the entire mountain and river changed. That dreadful energy raged and boiled in the sky. Yishiwen also moved at this time. The aura on his body boiled again, and his big hand directly shot out. It penetrated the limits of the entire space, and its speed reached the peak. It had arrived first even though it had been launched later. Its speed had reached an incredible degree. Bang! The entire long river of energy instantly turned into countless powder. A terrifying power shook out, annihilating the vast sky and turning it into countless powder. Die! Yishiwen sneered at this time and blasted his long fist. It carried unimaginable power and crossed the space and blasted towards the old ancestor of the Cursed Demon Clan. Boom! The old ancestor of the Cursed Demon Clan couldn't react at all. His skinny body was blasted away on the spot. Cracks appeared on his entire body and blood splattered out. Yishiwen wanted to continue to pursue and beat up the old ancestor of the Cursed Demon Clan. At this time, the others couldn't sit still anymore, and they began to attack Yishiwen. They could all see that Yishiwen wasn't just ordinary ferocity. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to deal with him at all. Only if they joined forces would it be possible. Whoosh! A terrifying sound broke through the air. The old ancestor of the original demon clan, who was at the peak of the celestial realm, broke through the space and directly appeared in front of Yishiwen. Endless power came crashing down, and it was extremely fast. It was the first to hit Yishiwen's head. Bang! An incomparably loud roar sounded. This palm was blocked by Yishiwen's fist. The loud roar expanded into endless energy that swept out. At the same time, Yishiwen moved like lightning. His other hand directly grabbed the space, and he directly grabbed the palm of the old ancestor of the original demon clan, who was at the peak of the heaven realm. Then he suddenly used strength, and his veins popped out. His strength was so terrifying, and together with the power of the mecha, he could simply grab the stars. The old ancestor of the original demon clan couldn't react at all, and he was directly grabbed by him, and his entire body flew up. Whoosh! His entire body was flung over, and he violently smashed towards the two old ancestors of the Azura race who had just pounced over. Chapter 1663. Schwa! He was tossed over and smashed right into the two Shura race celestial realm old ancestors who were pouncing over. These two heaven realm old ancestors were the most anxious. If they couldn't kill Yishiwen this time, then they wouldn't be able to kill Man Yun. Then it would be a disaster for them. Compared to the death of their entire race, the treasures in the treasury weren't much. While everyone else was conserving their strength, only the two of them wanted to kill Yishiwen the most. To them, Man Yun was under Yishiwen's protection. If Yishiwen didn't die, then Man Yun definitely wouldn't die. Therefore, the two of them had already pounced on him in the blink of an eye. The two of them were about to launch 6 punches together, but before they could do anything, they saw a huge black shadow smashing towards them. Pong! Pong! 2 loud sounds of metal clashing rang out. The two of them were smashed by Yishiwen's original demon race old ancestor. Ah! 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 Instantly 3 screams rang out. The two Azura race old ancestors were like 2 cannonballs. They screamed and were sent flying. Their bodies were almost smashed into pieces. Yishiwen's strength was so strong that they finally felt it clearly. Their bodies were almost smashed into pieces. What was worse was that the original demon race old ancestor was smashed down by Yishiwen like a weapon. Although his realm was higher, the Azura race old ancestor's physical strength was still weak. That was something everyone knew. So, this collision would result in both sides suffering. The two Azura race old ancestors were sent flying. Who knew how many bones in the original demon race old ancestor's body were broken? Some of the broken bones pierced through his skin and blood spurted everywhere. It was extremely tragic, but at this moment, these demons didn't stop because of this. That was because they knew that they couldn't let Yi Shiwen gain the upper hand. Otherwise, they would really die without a burial place. The longer this dragged on, the more likely it was that Yi Shiwen would be able to control the entire treasury. At this time, even if they wanted to retreat, it was impossible to do so in a short period of time. Therefore, they had no other way out. At this time, they could only fight with all their might. If they could kill Yi Shiwen, then not only could they survive, but they could also divide the treasure house. Otherwise, they would die either way. They were very clear on what choice to make. Bang! Yi Shiwen treated the original demon race old ancestor like a heavy weapon, smashing it toward the celestial realm middle stage demon race old ancestor. Boom! This intermediate celestial realm demon race old ancestor was like a cannonball as he smashed into the ground. His entire body stabbed into the ground and shattered. One must know that he couldn't even move the 5-element stone in this place before. But now, a crack had appeared on it. One could well imagine how much strength he had used. This person was even worse. His bones had been directly smashed, and he had died on the spot. In front of Yi Shiwen, the demon race's intermediate celestial realm demon ancestor was simply too weak. 100 million, it's another 100 million. Yi Shiwen calculated in his heart. To be able to use the power of this mecha naturally came with a price. This mecha was different from ordinary armor-type magic treasures. It required all sorts of energy to operate. Yi Shiwen actually used up over 100 million spirit crystals just by doing this action. Although this mecha was ridiculously powerful, its consumption was also ridiculously high. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to use it for long before they became completely broke. They couldn't even think about relying on this mecha to be invincible in the world. However, the Demon King naturally had his considerations for leaving it behind. If he could inherit the entire treasury, then he naturally wouldn't be lacking in spirit crystals. Yi Shiwen couldn't use this treasury now. But fortunately, he had just made a fortune and there were still a few dragon veins in his body. But even so, the rate of consumption of the mecha still made him feel distressed. Every time he moved, he could feel that the dragon veins, which were the source of energy, dimmed a little. Although it was a little hard to see, as Yi Shiwen moved faster and more frequently, he could feel the terrifying consumption of spirit energy. Especially when he looked at it every once in a while, he could clearly feel the huge consumption. But at this time, he had no other choice. He had to choose to keep all these people here. If he could get through this, he would be rich. If he couldn't, then he would basically die. Bang! 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 Yi Shiwen was like the reincarnation of an overlord in the mecha. His body was covered in a layer of metallic light. Among the demons, he constantly killed left and right. Everywhere he passed, there was a reign of terror. Roar! At this time, the original demon clan's old ancestor, who had been used as a weapon by Yi Shiwen, suddenly exploded. He was furious. He was a celestial realm old ancestor and had a high status in the demon realm. But in the end, he was easily captured and used as a weapon. Those who were smashed would be seriously injured even if they didn't die. At this time, Yi Shiwen had already suffered serious injuries. Those devils didn't care that he was forced by Yi Shiwen. They greeted his body with all kinds of ruthless martial arts, as if they wanted to cripple him in the shortest time possible. At this time, he was just barely hanging on to his last breath. If it wasn't for the fact that his cultivation was at its peak, if it was an ordinary celestial realm early stage or even late stage celestial realm expert, they would have long been tortured to death by Yi Shiwen and used as a shield for his attacks. There was no way they could have survived. Quick, save me! Save me! At this time, the original demon clan's old ancestor hurriedly shouted. At this time, he couldn't care about the conflict between him and the others. Want to leave? I think you're thinking too much. He used all the strength in his body to escape from Yi Shiwen's hands, but there was no way. In front of Yi Shiwen, he was nothing. No matter how hard he struggled, or even some violent actions, in front of Yi Shiwen, he couldn't escape at all. Yi Shiwen's casual violent action consumed hundreds of millions of spirit crystals. In his current state, Yi Shiwen had endless energy. He could kill gods and demons in his way. It was extremely terrifying. Although he was the original demon clan's old ancestor, he was caught by Yi Shiwen from the beginning. It could be said that Yi Shiwen controlled his weakness from the beginning. So at the beginning, he was defeated before he could do anything. This time, he wanted to escape again. He even thought of cutting off his wrist and escaping from Yi Shiwen's side like a gecko. However, this was already within Yi Shiwen's control and expectation. He couldn't escape at all. Endless seven-colored divine radiance was constantly boiling in Yi Shiwen's body. No matter what kind of movement he made, he would be completely suppressed by Yi Shiwen. He couldn't escape Yi Shiwen's grasp at all. After his leg was broken, he instantly flew into the void. His whole leg also grew out little by little. However, he was only afraid for a short while before he was caught by Yi Shiwen. Kill! At this time, there was a sudden loud roar. The giant demon clan's old ancestor finally couldn't bear it anymore. The huge mace, which was like a small mountain, smashed towards Yi Shiwen from the sky. For a moment, the sky fell, the earth cracked, and the sun and moon lost their light. It seemed as if there was only one weapon in the world, and only one figure in the world. At this time, Yi Shiwen shouted, and the dragon vein in his body burned again. Countless spiritual elemental energy was boiling from Yi Shiwen's body. Idiot, do you still want to go against me now? Yi Shiwen sneered. He directly waved the original demon clan's old ancestor and faced the giant demon clan's old ancestor. Pung! An incomparably loud sound echoed. The body of the original demon clan's ancestor collided with the mace of the giant demon clan's ancestor. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting apart. It was incomparably bloody because the original demon clan's ancestor had been used as a big stick by Yi Shiwen. The giant demon clan's old ancestor was completely nailed to the iron nail of the giant demon clan's old ancestor. Although the nail wasn't very big compared to the giant demon clan's old ancestor, it was still as thick as a person's arm. A big hole appeared in his head, and he died on the spot. A celestial realm old ancestor didn't even have the chance to display his true strength. He died here in such a way. However, facing Yi Shiwen, who had already put on the mecha, they couldn't hurt him at all. Although the mecha consumed a lot of energy, it was still a terrifying killing machine. At this time, the giant demon clan's old ancestor retreated. He couldn't hold the giant demon clan's old ancestor's old ancestor's old ancestor's old ancestor. He couldn't hold the wolf-tooth mace anymore. His palms that were holding the giant demon clan's old ancestor's old ancestor was forced to retreat. He couldn't hold the giant demon clan's old ancestor's old ancestor's old ancestor's old ancestor's old ancestor. Die! Yi Shiwen let out a loud shout. His body constantly spewed out sword light that condensed in the void. It was unknown how many sword lights he condensed, but at this moment, they condensed into a long river of sword Dao that instantly rushed towards the giant demon clan's ancestor. Pung! The giant demon clan's old ancestor didn't have time to dodge and was pierced on the spot. Chapter 1664. Another two extremely strong Heaven Realm old ancestors were killed by Yi Shiwen on the spot. What was fierce? This was fierce, and it was at an invincible level. Their attacks fell on Yi Shiwen's body like raindrops falling down, but they couldn't even make Yi Shiwen raise his eyebrows. The mecha on his body blocked all of the attacks. A loud rumbling sound rang out, and all of the attacks were blocked. Even Yi Shiwen, who was in the innermost part of the mecha, couldn't be affected at all. Even Yi Shiwen couldn't help but feel emotional. This mecha looked a little weird, but it was much stronger than he had expected. The more he trained, the more functions it would have. This was just the initial training. Just the strength and speed of the mecha itself was already so strong. If he completed the training, it would definitely rise to a whole new level. The only weakness was that it consumed too much energy. But to Yi Shiwen, who had gotten rich overnight, it was still bearable. Such combat strength was something that others couldn't exchange for no matter how many spirit crystals they had. The death of the two Heaven Realm old ancestors didn't scare them off. On the contrary, they became even crazier. To them, the stronger Yi Shiwen was, the harder it was for them to escape death. Since they were going to die anyway, they naturally had to go all out. Maybe they would have a chance of survival. But at this moment, Yi Shiwen couldn't care so much. His target was the Demon Lord's successor. Out of all these people, only this person had to be killed. It was just like how the Devil King's successor had racked his brains and thought of every possible way to kill Yi Shiwen. It was simply impossible for them to coexist peacefully from the very beginning. If two tigers were to fight, then one of them would die. Shwa! Yi Shiwen's body disappeared in the void, tearing a loud sound in the void. His body instantly appeared in front of the Demon Lord's successor, piercing through the layers of the demon race's old ancestors' blockade. Shwa! The Demon Lord's successor opened his demon wings and wanted to escape. He turned into a streak of black light and wanted to escape Yi Shiwen's range. Who knew that Yi Shiwen was even faster? With his sharp eyes and quick hands, he directly grabbed the ankle of the Demon Lord's successor. How can it be so fast? The Devil Monarch's successor looked at Yi Shiwen in disbelief. He couldn't believe that Yi Shiwen's speed was so fast. Yi Shiwen was able to catch up to him even after he had unfolded his devil wings. This was too shocking for him. Don't tell me you've forgotten that the devil wings you've been practicing is just an incomplete version. I'm the owner of the complete version. It's meaningless to play this trick in front of me. Yi Shiwen sneered and easily broke his delusion. How is this possible? I don't believe it. At this time, the Devil King's successor gave a loud shout and actually broke off his entire thigh. He wanted to escape from Yi Shiwen's hands by breaking off his leg and directly stretched out his devil wings. How could Yi Shiwen let him escape? He immediately shouted and stretched out his hand to grab his other leg. Then, Yi Shiwen threw him to the ground as fast as a sudden clap of thunder. Bang! With a loud bang, he immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. His entire body fell to the ground, almost as if it was about to explode. Who knew how many bones in his body were broken? It was extremely terrifying. With Yi Shiwen's current strength and the power of the mecha, even a small mountain could be smashed into powder by him. Although the Devil Monarch's successor was very powerful, he obviously couldn't be compared with the power of Yi Shiwen's mecha. If it were an ordinary Celestial Realm expert, he would have already been smashed into meat paste at this time. Kid, don't be too arrogant. Suddenly, at this time, a large number of devils flew over. Although they didn't know what kind of grievances Yi Shiwen had with the Devil Monarch's successor, they also understood one thing, and that was Yi Shiwen must not be allowed to achieve what he wanted to achieve. These people surrounded Yi Shiwen. With Yi Shiwen's strength and the mecha, even if he could defeat them, it was impossible for him to destroy all of them in an instant. After all, these were famous ancestors in the Devil Realm. Each of them was a very powerful existence, and it was not that easy to deal with. At this time, the Devil Monarch's successor didn't hesitate at all. While Yi Shiwen was being held up, he immediately spread his demonic wings and flew out of the hall, directly betraying the devils again. Of course, at this time, the devils couldn't care about cursing at him, because at this time, Yi Shiwen, who saw that the Devil Monarch's successor was about to escape, was completely in a state of rage. If he missed this opportunity, he didn't know when he would be able to kill him again. Get out of my way! Yi Shiwen shouted and directly killed an old Celestial Realm expert in the early stage of the Celestial Realm in front of him with one palm. In front of Yi Shiwen, he couldn't fight back at all. Directly killing one with one palm didn't require any exquisite martial arts. It could be done with great strength. Rip! There was a loud tearing sound, and then a huge black shadow swept over. This was the ancestor of the demonic beasts. Who knew how many years it had lived for? And its cultivation was incomparably deep. These demonic beasts had a much longer lifespan than the demon race, so at the same realm, these demonic beasts were much stronger than ordinary demons. An incomparably huge demonic claw grabbed towards Yi Shiwen from the air. It wasn't that it didn't see Yi Shiwen's ferocity, It was just that it wanted to rely on its rough skin and thick flesh to grab Yi Shiwen to death. "You're asking for death?" Yi Shiwen sneered. Seeing that the Devil Monarch's successor was getting further and further away, he couldn't care anymore. He had to kill all of these people first. As long as he digested the Devil Monarch's treasury, then even if the Devil Monarch's successor was still alive, there was nothing to worry about. Even if he announced it, it was useless because he was a human. Even if the whole world knew about it, it was useless. He didn't even move around in the demon race. Of course, conversely, this was also his disadvantage. Because there were no forces in the demon realm, it was very difficult for him to find the Devil Monarch's successor. He could only wait for the next time he appeared, and then he would strike like lightning and completely eradicate him. Clang! Bang! A sound similar to the sound of gold and iron colliding with each other was heard. This magical beast's devil claw and Yi Shiwen's fist fiercely collided with each other, followed by another blood-curdling screech. The huge body of this magical beast began to continuously retreat while trembling unceasingly. In the confrontation of strength, it was completely defeated by Yi Shiwen. The entire demonic claw was completely fractured, and the bones that were harder than metal were completely broken in the vibration. Die! Yi Shiwen opened his hands, and countless sword auras condensed into a huge light sword in his hands. This light sword was perpendicular to the ground, constantly rotating at a high speed, making a terrifying buzzing sound. Suddenly, the light sword shot out directly, like a flying dragon instantly flying into the sky, and went straight towards this demonic beast. At this time, the demonic beasts were already frightened by Yi Shiwen's killing. They scattered in all directions, not daring to continue to confront Yi Shiwen head-on. No one went to save him. Even if there was no one would save him. At this time, taking the opportunity to kill Yi Shiwen was the right thing to do. Bang! This sword directly penetrated this demonic beast from the head to the tail in an instant. Yi Shiwen's sword light carried an unparalleled momentum, extremely terrifying. Then, a huge figure like a hill fell directly, smashing that demonic beast's old ancestor into a meat patty. It was the 9 Dragons' heavenly cauldron, and the flesh and blood of the old ancestor were all devoured by Tianyuan Mirror in one breath. At this time, the remaining demonic beasts, who still had the heart to fight, quickly retreated one after another, not daring to continue to confront Yi Shiwen. But at this time, how could Yi Shiwen let them go so easily? Bang! 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 Yi Shiwen's figure constantly shuttled back and forth, like a god of slaughter, simply unstoppable. Originally, it was only a short corridor, and along the way, these demonic beasts did not realize that it was actually so long. It was so long that they could feel the breath of the terrible god of slaughter behind them at any time. In just a short period of time, this place became a bloody Azura field, and these demonic beasts fell one after another. No matter what level of demonic beasts they were, they could not stop a single move from Yi Shiwen. Even if it was a master at the peak of the celestial being realm, in the case of a hurried escape, they could not withstand a few blows from Yi Shiwen, and were blasted to death by Yi Shiwen. Hiding under the mecha, Yi Shiwen was invincible, and he did not need to be afraid of getting injured at all. Just based on the current situation, it was even more tyrannical than his tyrant body, and more reassuring than the tyrant body. Blood flowed like a river, but it was instantly evaporated, and all of it was absorbed by Tianyuan Mirror. Yi Shiwen had already clearly felt that Yi Mo's spirit was faintly awakening, and it would wake up soon. This time, among the masters that were wantonly slaughtered by Yi Shiwen, there were many masters at the peak of the celestial being realm. How could ordinary people compare to them? Absorbing 10,000 ordinary celestial being realm masters could not compare to one master at the peak of the celestial being realm. In Yi Shiwen's stupidest moment, when the last demon thought that he was about to escape, a sword light chased behind him, and he was slashed by the sword light on the spot. His whole body exploded in the air, and with a loud bang, he turned into a cloud of blood mist. After killing the last enemy, Yi Shiwen put away the mecha that was covering his body. Although the power of this mecha was extraordinary It consumed too much energy. If it was him in the past, he was afraid that just one battle would completely bankrupt him, and it could not be compared to him at all. It's a pity that I still let that guy escape, and I don't know when the next time will be. Yi Shiwen sighed, but then immediately turned around and went into the depths of the treasure house. The harvest this time was really too big, and it would take him a long time to digest it all. Chapter 1665. His gains this time were huge, far more than all the previous times combined. Just the portion of wealth that he could unlock was shocking enough. One could even say that it was enough for him to start his own sect. Moreover, there was even more wealth in the depths of the treasury. However, if he wanted to get it, he had to surpass Heaven Realm. That would take a long time, but it was worth looking forward to. Just as he returned to his throne, he saw Man Yun, who was behind the barrier, constantly spitting out an incredibly powerful aura. Her entire body was emitting a dense mist. She was like a fairy in a dense fog, constantly emitting a powerful aura. If they were not in the Demon Lord's treasury, they would have caused the sky to change color. When one reached Heaven Realm, their every action could cause the sky to change, and they were extremely strong. Yi Shiwen could tell right away that she was trying to break through to Heaven Realm middle stage, and she was at the crucial moment. As expected, all sorts of phenomenon started to form behind her. A powerful Azura phantom guarded behind him. Faintly, it gave off the aura of a king of the heavens. Every move it made was filled with great power. This was the ancestor of the Shura race, the Shura Demon Lord. He was a strong existence that had once ruled the demon world. He used to be one of the strongest in the world. Many of the skills of the Azura tribe were related to this Azura Demon King. Whoever could condense more shadows of the Azura Demon King would be able to display more powerful martial arts skills of the Azura tribe. This was a person that made the entire world kneel to him. It could be seen that Man Yun was currently under immense pressure. As he unleashed his martial art, the Azura Demon Monarch appeared. It caused the entire treasury to bounce back. The formless pressure pressed down. This was a battle between two demon lords. As the saying went, two tigers couldn't share the same mountain. At such a time, how could they allow another demon lord's heir to break through here? However, Yi Shiwen didn't help. He could tell that the more pressure Man Yun faced, the stronger she would be after she broke through. This was the same reason why his foundation was extremely sturdy. Hence, he would often become incomparably powerful after breaking through, sweeping away everything in his path. However, even with Man Yun's foundation and strength, it was still very difficult for her to break through now. Waves of strong pressure pressed down on her. Her small body was creaking, and a terrifying power was boiling in her body. Ah! She couldn't help but scream. The Shura shadow behind her condensed even more tenaciously. She was a very stubborn person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have made the queen her lifelong goal. This was not a goal that ordinary people could have. Even in the demon world, only a few talented and bold people dared to set the demon lord as their goal. Even many princes and princesses felt that it was already very impressive to break through to the demon god realm. She persisted until suddenly, the devil essence in her body was completely used up. Just as she was thinking that this was bad, her devil essence was completely used up. She had used up all her strength, but she hadn't used up all her strength yet. Not good. Am I going to fail this time? She could not help but feel a little bitter. She saw a torrent of energy suddenly being controlled by a mysterious power, and with a bang, it fell into her body. She was slightly surprised as she looked in front of her. The person who had made the move was Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen had opened one of the restrictions. Under his control, the elixir turned into energy that filled the sky. Then it directly fell into his body. Don't worry, don't think too much. Let's get through this first. Yi Shiwen's voice spread over. She didn't think too much and started to go into seclusion. With the replenishment of this new power in her body, she finally got through the most difficult moment. The power in her body was being replenished, and she kept charging at the barrier of Celestial Realm middle stage. Hong! A muffled sound rang out. Man Yun's body started to boil with power. The power that had been stagnant finally started to sweep up. She stepped into the clouds and reached the heavens in one step. She finally stepped into celestial realm middle stage. After a long while, she finally stabilized her celestial realm middle stage. As for stabilizing it further, it would take a long time. "Thank you," Man Yin said. "This is nothing. If you didn't stop that guy, I wouldn't have been able to refine the Thunderbolt Spear. To be honest, I have more things to thank you for," Yi Shiwen said with a smile. Man Yin didn't continue to say anything. The current situation was already unclear. Yi Shiwen had even saved her life before. Compared to that, this decisiveness was nothing. She quietly closed her eyes and comprehended the celestial realm middle stage. After a long while, she finally opened her eyes and said, "I've gained a lot this time. Now I'm going back." As she said that, she looked at Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "What? Do you think I'll eat you? Aren't you afraid that I'll leak the secret if you let me go?" This was also her biggest doubt. Once the news of the Devil King's inheritance was leaked, it would definitely cause the entire devil world to go crazy. At that time, he would never be able to show his face again. It could even be said that it would not be strange for him to become a street rat. "I believe in you." Yi Shiwen didn't say anything else and just said this sentence. "Tisk." Man Yin turned around and seemed to be a little disdainful. "You trust others too easily." As soon as she finished speaking, her figure had already disappeared outside the treasury. There were other sounds faintly heard. "But don't worry. At least this time, I'll keep my word and won't tell others. But if someone else leaks it, then don't blame me." Yi Shiwen smiled and didn't say anything. The reason why she could say this was because she was confident that once he took control of the violent thunder spear, the entire treasure vault would soon fall into his hands. At that time, as long as he sealed the entire treasure vault, no one would be able to enter other than him. What was there to be afraid of? However, if Man Yin couldn't even withstand this test, then there would naturally be other things. But no matter what, Yi Shiwen, who controlled the Thunderbolt Spear, was in an invincible position. He wasn't afraid of any problems at all. After Man Yin left, Yi Shiwen completely closed the doors of the treasury and also the spatial crack that connected the treasury to the outside world. Although he still couldn't completely control the entire treasury, he could still do it to this extent easily. After that, his time was also very tight. He still had 2 months left. He had to break into the 8th level of the sky human realm within these 2 months. At that time, his battle strength would rise to a higher level. If he wanted to accomplish what the clan head said at the alliance meeting, he would need more than just this. It probably wouldn't be that easy. The 4 major forces and the ancient Phoenix realm had countless geniuses. How could it be that easy for Yi Shiwen to defeat them? If he was only at the 7th level of the sky human realm, he wouldn't have complete confidence. However, if he could enter the 8th level of the sky human realm, then everything would be relatively simple. To break into the 8th level of the sky human realm in 2 months' time was still a little too tight for him. Previously, when he broke through to the 7th level of the sky human realm, he spent a full 10 years. This time he broke through again, and it took less than half a year. Fortunately, with the Demon King's treasury, he inherited a lot of things. It was enough for him to have a sufficient foundation in these 2 months' time. Yi Shiwen held the violent thunder spear in his hand. Under the control of his mind, the parts of the treasure house that could be controlled by him completely disappeared without a trace. Suddenly, innumerable medicinal fragrances and the aura of jewels filled the air all at once, filling the entire treasure house. Beep! Suddenly, within Yi Shiwen's body, a tender cry sounded. Then, a ray of light ran out from his body and ran to the front of a pile of medicinal pills. It opened its small mouth and formed a monstrous suction force, as if it wanted to absorb the entire world. Countless precious medicinal pills from the outside world were swallowed by it at this time. "Hey, you little thing, aren't you afraid of being bloated?" Yi Shiwen looked at the young Kuan Peng, who actually absorbed a pile of medicinal pills that were several times bigger than his body in one breath. He couldn't help but say hurriedly, but his reminder was too late. At this time, The young Kuan Peng had already absorbed all the medicinal pills. Then his entire small belly bulged up. He lay on the place where the medicinal pills were just piled up and rolled around. He looked very satisfied and even burped. "You're really a foodie." Yishuan looked at the little thing, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect this little thing to actually swallow all the medicinal pills. This made him a little speechless. Moreover, it felt like a whale swallowing and drinking completely like a boorish person. Even Yishuan didn't dare to be so reckless. If he continued to absorb like this, he was afraid that he would completely explode soon. But this young Kuan Peng was like the reincarnation of a Taotai. He swallowed so many elixirs in one go. These were all money. Yishuan almost slapped this wastrel to death. Any one of these elixirs could easily be sold for hundreds of millions of spirit crystals. It was impossible to calculate how many elixirs he swallowed in one go. But thinking about it, anyway, this prodigal had already wasted 9 dragon veins. Yishuan was very used to it. So, Yishuan didn't care about this little thing running around and directly began to sit cross-legged in midair. Chapter 1666. After entering the peak of the 7th level of the Sky Realm, Yishuan had thought that he would need some time, but he didn't expect to face a breakthrough so soon. Luckily, his foundation was very strong, and his comprehension was far beyond ordinary people's imagination, so it didn't cause too big of a problem. Many of the medicinal pills around him started to burn under the influence of his aura, turning into balls of energy that surged into Yishuan's body. Sometimes, he even touched the medicinal pills in front of young Kuan Peng, making him so angry that he kept screaming. These pills had transformed into a torrent of energy. Therefore, Yishuan had sufficient confidence in his strength. Boom! 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 His body was constantly emitting a 7-colored mist. After the pill that filled the sky turned into a torrent of energy and entered his body, he had no way to completely consume it. The excess was spewed out from his pores, forming a 7-colored mist. Waves of powerful energy kept spewing out of his body, attacking the barrier of the 8th level of the Sky Realm. The barrier, which wasn't very strong before, was now abnormally strong. Every step in the Sky Realm was like reaching the heavens, and every level was a crucial point. Not far away from him, the young Kuan Peng was also constantly devouring those elixirs. With every mouthful, the aura on his body grew. He was like the legendary Taotai, able to digest everything he ate. His appetite was unbelievably good. On the other side of the barrier, Yulian was also recovering bit by bit. She was also breaking through to a higher level. She wanted to use this chance to break through to the peak of the celestial realm in one go with the countless divine treasures in the area. She had accumulated enough and was already at stage 6 of the celestial realm, not to mention now. She was just a step away from the peak of the celestial realm. Now she wanted to try how to break through to the peak of the celestial realm. Once she could truly step into the peak of the sky realm, then Yishuan would immediately have another good helper. Time ticked by as these people busied themselves. Soon, more than a month had passed. Yishuan was still sitting there like a statue, not moving at all. He just sat cross-legged, and the aura on his body grew stronger bit by bit. Compared to a month ago, Yishuan's aura had almost reached a whole new level, and with the nourishment of these medicinal pills, his foundation seemed to have become even stronger. Others might not be able to tell, but Yulian, who had been watching Yishuan's cultivation, could completely see it. In a month's time, she completely stepped into the peak of the sky realm and became a top figure in the world. Yishuan's realm was not as good as hers, but the time he spent to break through was actually more than hers. After more than a month, he still could not smoothly step into the 8th heaven of celestial being realm. Or rather, even if he could, he was completely suppressed by Yishuan. At this time, she finally understood why Yishuan was able to challenge people of a higher realm. He was so amazing. Just by looking at this breakthrough, she knew that it was impossible for an ordinary person to achieve this. It was at this moment that she finally understood why Yishuan could fight across levels. Just looking at this breakthrough, It wasn't something that ordinary people could have. And not far away from her, that Kuenping was once again lying there with a round belly, groaning. In this month, this wasn't the first time she saw such a scene. Each time, he swallowed a bunch of medicinal pills, not afraid of indigestion. He looked like the reincarnation of a Taotai. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been completely eaten by this thing. Only Yi Shiwen, who had just obtained the Demon King's treasury, could let him do as he pleased. In the entire treasury, there were countless treasures. With Yi Shiwen's current consumption speed, even if it was a black hole for others, he still couldn't use it all. But after he stepped into the sky realm, this consumption speed was already the growth of the northern part of the city, but it was still enough to feed this Kuenping. In contrast, this Kuenping actually went from the original transcendent realm to the sky realm in one go in such a short period of time. Although it was only the first level of the sky realm, it was already very shocking. In just a month's time, it went from the transcendent realm to the sky realm in one go. With the Kuenping's appetite, it was completely imaginable how many resources it had swallowed in one go. This was already shocking enough. If it was an ordinary person, even if they had these resources, they wouldn't dare to absorb them so recklessly. At least with Yi Shiwen's physique, if he absorbed so much in a month's time, he would be purely tired of living. It would already be considered very good if he didn't explode on the spot. However, looking at this little guy's appearance, it was obvious that it wasn't satisfied yet. It was like there was no end to it, and it could keep swallowing. In Yi Shiwen's words, it was living like a pig. But even if it lived like a pig, it could still enter the sky realm from the transcendent realm within a month. As the saying went, comparing oneself to others would only make one angry. Yi Shiwen had experienced more than 200 years, racked his brains, and finally entered the sky realm after going through many hardships. In the end, this little guy caught up in just a month like a pig. What did it mean to be gifted? This was gifted. Even though Yu Lian had lived for so many years, she had never seen such a powerful bloodline. No wonder Kuenping could be ranked as one of the top 10 vicious beasts in the world. It used to not even put the gods in its eyes, and its ancestor was even ranked as the master of all beasts in the world. Compared to such a monster, ordinary people had no way to deal with it. Beep, beep, beep. The little guy rolled around on the ground, looking like he had eaten too much, which made Yu Lian's teeth itch. She had cultivated her state of mind for so many years, but it seemed to have become a complete joke here. She couldn't control herself in front of this little guy, and couldn't help but curse in her heart. Die from eating too much. It's best if you die from eating too much. This bastard, if you don't eat too much, how can you be worthy of those who have cultivated so hard? But obviously, the heavens didn't hear her prayers. Although this little guy kept rolling around with a very uncomfortable look, it obviously didn't look like he was going to die from eating too much. On the contrary, the feathers all over his body became more lustrous, and he constantly spat out colorful mist. He completely looked like a prodigal who was wasting good things to the end. This left Yu Lian completely speechless. However, when she looked at the owner of this little thing, she saw that he wasn't any better. His whole body was constantly absorbing the energy from the elixir while emitting 7-colored rays of light. He was completely like a prodigal son. She could only sigh with emotion. Like master, like spirit pet. These two were simply a bastard carved from the same mold. However, the difference was that Yi Shiwen knew that his behavior was a prodigal, but he could only grit his teeth and continue. If these things were not converted into strength, then it would really be a complete waste. And this little guy didn't feel anything at all. Even if he was given a dragon vein, he would dare to swallow it all in one gulp. He didn't notice his problem at all. Boom! Suddenly, Yi Shiwen's body, which hadn't moved for a long time, began to move all of a sudden. A burst of crackling sound came from his body, and more colorful light was spat out. White smoke was constantly emitting from the top of his head. The originally stagnant aura also began to burst out continuously, sweeping in all directions in a circle. Behind him, the Mingxin ancient tree directly manifested. Another god appeared in the ancient god scripture, and it began to chant the Heart Sutra continuously. Every word contained great principles and had great power. Around his body, countless laws began to manifest and started to appear around him. They rose up and down, continuously condensing and regenerating. The scene was abnormally shocking, even more shocking than many Heaven Realm experts. In Yu Lian's eyes, the laws that condensed around him were thicker and more magnificent than many Heaven Realm experts. Not to mention those Heaven Realm experts, they couldn't compare at all. This was the true reason why Yi Shiwen could fight against Heaven Realm experts. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to have such a strong foundation. This would waste a lot of resources. If it was possible, wouldn't it be more convenient to directly advance to the Heaven Realm? Only someone like Yi Shiwen, who had so many resources and had the realistic need to increase his combat power in a short period of time, would take such an unconventional action. Boom! 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 The aura on Yi Shiwen's body was still sweeping out in circles, constantly getting stronger. It was as if all the previous accumulation was going to be turned into combat power in this instant. It didn't stop for a moment, and it began to burst out continuously. Rumble! A series of thunderous explosions rang out, and Yi Shiwen's body finally burst out completely. A strong push pushed Yu Lian and little Kuan Peng far away, forcing little Kuan Peng, who was already a little full, to cry out in dissatisfaction. But there was no other way. The current Yi Shiwen's aura had reached an extremely terrifying level, and the storm that swept out could destroy a mountain range. Boom! His aura finally rose to the extreme, and after breaking through, it swept out like a hot knife through butter. Yi Shiwen also slowly opened his eyes. Eighth heaven of Heaven Realm. He had finally stepped into this level, and a strong force was constantly growing in his body. It was unprecedentedly strong, and compared to before, it was as if he wasn't in the same realm. Chapter 1667. It was still very easy for him to step into the 8th level of Celestial Being Realm. However, the most difficult thing was to increase his combat power while breaking through. That was why he had spent more than a month in one go. Fortunately, he had obtained the treasures of this demon lord. He had also obtained a lot of pills to consolidate his realm and increase his strength. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to do this. He opened his eyes and looked at the little Kuan Peng who was constantly shouting at the side. He couldn't help but smile. Although the little Kuan Peng was constantly shouting at this time, it had a feeling of intimacy with Yi Shiwen from the bottom of its heart. He laughed heartily and waved his hand. An even bigger storm swept over. The little thing was blown even further away, rolling all the way out. The little thing was even more agitated. It pointed at Yi Shiwen and shouted, as if saying that when its strength reached a certain level, it would fight with Yi Shiwen to the death. Although it was subdued by Yi Shiwen, the nature of this little thing had not changed at all. Especially in front of Yi Shiwen, it did not restrain itself at all. Yi Shiwen looked at the little thing's round body helplessly. At this speed, this little thing might invent a new way to die, death from obesity. And the most terrifying thing was that this little thing was getting fat at this speed. If it continued like this, it might not even be able to fly. Of course, it could rely on the wind attribute law to fly, but wouldn't that be too ridiculous? It's been hard on you to protect me during this time. Yi Shiwen looked at Yu Lian and said, "It's not hard at all. Here, the world is sealed. Others can't come in. In fact, it's not of much use." Yu Lian said with a smile. Yi Shiwen smiled. Yu Lian was still consolidating her realm during this time. She should be in close cultivation, but now she had to close cultivation for him. "Well, you should go and consolidate your realm. I don't need you to watch over me here," Yi Shiwen said. Now that he had broken through to the 8th level of Celestial Being Realm, he did not need to continue to close cultivation. He only needed to continue consolidating. There was no need for others to help protect him. What's more, as Yu Lian said, the possibility of encountering danger here was too small. Okay, Yu Lian didn't say anything else. She went to the side and started to cultivate in seclusion. Yi Shiwen did not hesitate at this time, and directly began to close up again to consolidate his own realm, while at the same time constantly refining the violent thunder spear and began to master the entire treasure house. Only when he had complete control of the treasury would he be able to leave with peace of mind. Only when he had complete control of the treasury would he be able to enter and exit it freely. Just like before, although he could freely enter the treasury, he borrowed the power of the imperial flag of the underworld and the angel's sword. When he left, he still had to leave the demon realm and return to the ancient wilderness. On the other hand, if he could completely control the treasury, he would be able to directly break through space to enter and exit the treasury. He wouldn't need to go through the passageway in the demon realm. This was very important to him. He didn't want to go through the demon realm every time, because if he was ambushed, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Another half a month passed in the blink of an eye. It was only a few days before the alliance meeting that the clan head had mentioned. Yi Shiwen finally woke up from his state of seclusion. After this half a month, he had completely consolidated his realm of the 8th level of celestial being realm. Moreover, he had also completely refined the violent thunder spear and had complete control of the entire treasury. At this time, even if thousands of troops and horses were to attack, he could mobilize the array in the treasury and completely destroy these invading enemies. The entire treasury was now completely in Yi Shiwen's hands. After coming out of seclusion, Yi Shiwen did not hesitate immediately. He directly took Yu Lian and began to rush in the direction of the royal court. As for the little thing, Kuan Peng, Yi Shiwen completely left it in this treasury. Anyway, it was useless to Yi Shiwen now, so it was better to cultivate here. Yi Shiwen disguised himself as a fallen angel and quietly left this remote place in the demon realm. When no one saw him, he directly spread his demon wings and flew all the way in the direction of the royal court. With the experience of entering the demon realm last time, Yi Shiwen did not stop at all. After spending a whole day, he finally came to the crack on the border between the demon realm and the royal court. At this time, the border between the demon realm and the royal court was tense, and countless troops were mobilized to the front line. Looking from afar, there was a huge battlefield that was unfathomably wide and unfathomably long. All kinds of lights were flashing in the distance, and countless experts were fighting in it. Among the demon clan, there were many troops that were mobilized. Originally, both sides could be said to be at peace, and there were even cities on both sides near the battlefield. However, at this time, the cities near the battlefield had long been destroyed in the war. No one could survive the flames of war of this level. Yi Shiwen disguised himself as a fallen angel and flew all the way in the direction of the human clan. The fallen angel clan, as one of the 8 royal clans of the demon realm, had a very high status. Although Yi Shiwen was flying around the battlefield alone, no demon dared to make irresponsible remarks, and no one dared to casually interrogate him. If it were an ordinary low-level race, how would they dare to wander around the battlefield at this time? Wouldn't that be courting death? Along the way, he encountered several groups of human experts who were lurking, and saw that Yi Shiwen was about to attack him. However, at this time, Yi Shiwen did not have time to waste with them. He fled all the way and spent a whole day to barely escape to the territory of the human clan. At this time, Yi Shiwen could completely change his identity to the human clan and did not have to continue to pretend to be a fallen angel. At this time, the battlefield was in chaos, and a large number of experts from various forces had gathered here, so Yi Shiwen was not very eye-catching. In addition, his identity as a marquis of Yi Clan, and he quickly passed through the layers of blockade of the royal court. After leaving the royal court, he directly rushed to Yi Clan. In this way, it took a whole day. On the 3rd day, Yi Shiwen finally rushed back to Yi Clan from the desolate border of the demon realm. If this was many years ago, this was simply unimaginable. At that time, with Yi Shiwen's strength, it was simply impossible to cross such a long distance in such a short time. But now, Yi Shiwen did it, and he did it easily. Not to mention anything else, just crossing the chaotic battlefield alone. If it was Yi Shiwen in the past, he would have to be careful, because if he was not careful, he would encounter a large army, and at that time he could only continue to escape. But for the current him, it was a small matter. Celestial realm experts already had the ability to protect themselves on the battlefield, Not to mention, his current combat strength could not be compared to when he had just entered the 7th level of Celestial Realm. Yi Shiwen returned to Yi Clan, and very quickly attracted the attention of the Yi Clan's higher-ups, because his sudden disappearance 2 months ago had already attracted some attention from Yi Clan. For an expert of his level, whether he stayed or left, there would be a lot of attention, not to mention that in 3 months, he would be participating in the alliance between the human clan and the other 4 clans. This was even more important, and just when everyone thought that Yi Shiwen would not be able to make it in time, he finally made it. And when Yi Shiwen had just arrived at Yi Clan, he heard an incomparably shocking matter. That was Yi Qiong and Yi Kuang, 2 of the younger generation of Yi Clan who had entered the Celestial Realm, were actually seriously injured and on the verge of death. When he received this news, Yi Shiwen was instantly incomparably shocked. One had to know that with their strength and status, how many people would dare to kill them like this, and how many people had the ability to do so. The strength of the Celestial Realm early stage was not a joke. After receiving this news, Yi Shiwen did not even have time to rest, and directly rushed to see his master, Yi Jintian. In a large hall in the law enforcement city, Yi Shiwen looked at Yi Jintian and asked, "What exactly is going on? How did the 2 of them get seriously injured? This is impossible, right?" "Actually, this matter is related to you," Yi Jintian said. "Related to me?" Yi Shiwen was a little confused. What did this matter have to do with him again? "That's right. Do you remember that you heavily injured the Phoenix sect previously?" Yi Jintian said. "Does Master mean that the experts of the Phoenix clan have come again?" Yi Shiwen suddenly realized that this was the only explanation that could make sense. Otherwise, why would Yi Jintian say that it was related to him? "That's right, that's it. The Phoenix clan has sent another expert, Feng Wuying, whose cultivation is simply unfathomable. This time, after you left, someone quickly invited Yi Kuang and Yi Qiong to participate in some gathering of the younger generation. However, at the gathering, Feng Wuying suddenly appeared, provoked the 2, and even said that our Yi clan had lost a single cent naturally. The 2 of them were not willing to accept it and attacked. Most importantly, the 2 of them joined forces, but they were actually not his match and were easily injured by him." Yi Jintian squinted his eyes and said with a serious expression, "The 2 of them joined forces?" Yi Shiwen was stunned for a moment, confirming that he did not hear wrongly, right? These 2 enemies actually joined forces? This was not between him and Yi Qiong. In fact, the relationship between Yi Qiong and Yi Kuang was even worse than the relationship between him and Yi Kuang. These 2 actually joined forces? In other words, how powerful must the other party be to be able to force these 2 arrogant people to this point? Chapter 1668. Yi Shiwen didn't know how powerful this Feng Wuying was. However, just one detail was enough to make him realize that this Feng Wuying might be an unprecedentedly powerful enemy. Yi Qiong and Yi Kuang didn't have a good relationship with each other. However, both of them had become the top leaders of the Yi family. So, they didn't fight like before in order to maintain the unity of the Yi family. However, it was common for them to fight against each other. Moreover, both of them were proud people. Their strength was also at the top of the Yi family. Apart from the illusory Yi Su Kong, Yi Qianqian, and Yi Shiwen, these 2 should be considered as the top experts of the Yi family. What kind of strength was this? What kind of pride was this? But they were actually forced to join hands. How tyrannical must the opponent be to force them to make such a choice? Yes, you also heard it. These 2 have always been at odds with each other. However, they have joined hands now. This is like asking me to join hands with Yi Jinmo and the others. Unless the opponent is really powerful and unrivaled, or even a character like the clan lord, then it's only possible. Otherwise, don't even think about it. Yi Jintian said, "The strength of the Phoenix clan is unfathomable. They have retreated to the ancient Phoenix world for many years. However, they are much stronger than us. Any one of the 4 clans might not be a match for the ancient Phoenix world if they were to fight alone. Moreover, the ancient Phoenix world has been recuperating and storing up their strength for so many years. Moreover, they aren't like us who have to compete with the other 3 clans for resources. Therefore, Even we don't know how tyrannical their strength has become over the years. We can still think of ways to control some of the demon race and use them as our spies. However, we really don't know anything about the ancient Phoenix realm. It's been too long since the last war. Moreover, everyone said that the ancient Phoenix realm had suffered heavy losses during the last war. However, only the ancient Phoenix realm themselves know the true situation of the ancient Phoenix realm. These races that had once dominated the ancient times aren't that simple. Yi Jintian said, the younger generation of the clan is even more outstanding. Just the Phoenix sect alone is already very outstanding. Even Yi Kuang couldn't do anything to them. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid they would have lost their last layer of face. Apart from Yi Su Kong, we don't know where he went. We can't find anyone who can match him. Moreover, he didn't only target our Yi clan. Apart from our Yi clan, the Phoenix sect has also challenged the young experts of many other forces. However, no one has been able to deal with him. Otherwise, someone would have sold him out long ago. How could anyone endure to this day? Yi Jintian continued, if it wasn't for you, I'm afraid that one of the big shots of the younger generation would have taken action. We can't let him continue to act presumptuously in our human race. I originally thought that such a person was already their top figure. However, now that I think about it, I'm afraid that we've underestimated the ancient Phoenix world. Just the strength of this Feng Wuing is above any expert that I know of. There's no one in the younger generation who can match him. I'm afraid that no one among the 5 big shots of the younger generation would have been a match for this Feng Wuing if none of them had hidden their strength. Yi Shiwen's expression turned serious. Indeed, the strength of the 5 big shots of the younger generation was only at the early stage of the Heaven Realm. It seemed that they weren't that far ahead of everyone else. Within the Yi clan, there were Yi Shukong, Yi Kuang, Yi Qiong, and the others who had stepped into the Heaven Realm. Not to mention the experts of other forces. Like a blowout, a batch of Heaven Realm experts had stepped into the ranks. However, the reason why the 5 big shots of the younger generation were still able to maintain this reputation was not because of their previous reputation, but because of their tyrannical strength. The 5 big shots of the younger generation had stepped into the Heaven Realm very early on. However, this didn't scare many of the latecomers, especially some of the top geniuses of the younger generation who had also stepped into the Heaven Realm. How many of them were willing to submit to the 5 big shots? Back then, when the strength of the geniuses was like a blowout, with a huge improvement, there were some people who wanted to challenge the 5 big shots. They wanted to become famous by defeating the 5 big shots. How did Yi Shiwen become famous back then? Didn't he defeat the 5 big shots in one go and obtain the top position of the top 100? He didn't even use the most direct method to defeat the 5 big shots. Just the indirect method alone was enough to make him famous. From this, one could see how famous the 5 big shots were in the human race. In the first few years, there would be news of some genius challenging the 5 giants every once in a while. In the beginning, it would cause a sensation. Many people would rush to watch it. However, the result was that no matter who challenged the genius, they would be defeated by the 5 giants in the end. It didn't matter how tyrannical their strength was. It seemed as if the 5 giants were always so skillful and easy. It seemed as if there was no end to their strength. At this time, everyone finally understood how terrifying the 5 big shots were, and how difficult it was for Yi Shiwen back then. Even if he only defeated the 5 big shots indirectly, it was already an amazing achievement for everyone. If it wasn't for Yi Shiwen being quiet all these years, he would have become famous by now. He was the only one who had defeated the 5 big shots, even if he used that method. Although it wasn't a fair and square defeat of the 5 magnates, it was already not easy to do so. Therefore, slowly, the 5 big shots consolidated their positions, letting everyone know that even if they were in the same realm, the 5 big shots were still the 5 big shots. Even some old seniors who had cultivated for many years were still not a match for the 5 big shots, and were completely defeated. From this, it could be seen that the 5 big shots were completely above everyone else. Even so, according to Yi Jintian, if one didn't hide his strength, he still wouldn't be able to defeat Feng Wuing. Could it be that Feng Wuing has already reached the middle stage of the celestial realm? Yi Shiwen became serious. The five big shots of the younger generation, especially Fa Wushuang, had almost reached the peak of the early stage of the celestial realm. There was no one stronger than him, but he still couldn't defeat Feng Wuying. There was only one possibility. Feng Wuying had already stepped into the middle stage of the celestial realm. He didn't know whether the speculation was true or not, but if it was true, then he would be an extremely terrifying opponent. Could it be that there were really so many powerful experts in the ancient Phoenix realm? And from the words of the Phoenix sect when they fought last time, it seemed that they were here for him. But his interaction with the ancient Phoenix realm seemed to be limited to that one time with Feng Ling. If it was because of the Imperial Court competition, it wouldn't make sense. After all, the Phoenix sect's behavior clearly showed that they didn't care about the human race. So how could they care about a mere Imperial Court competition champion? Or could it be related to Hua Minghan? After Hua Minghan was brought to the ancient Phoenix realm, there was no news of her. Perhaps it really was related. These thoughts were constantly tangled together in his mind, but he couldn't find a logical connection. He had no clue at all. That's possible. I've discussed this matter with the clan lord, and we also feel that this is the only possibility. Otherwise, with Yi Kuang and Yi Qiong's strength, they wouldn't have been forced to join hands and suffer serious injuries. Yi Zhenqian looked at Yi Shiwen in a somewhat worried manner and said, "Therefore, I have discussed with the patriarch. This time, you don't have to fight. This time, it is very obvious that he is coming for you. Yi Kuang and Yi Qiong are just caught in the crossfire, that's all. Once you go on stage, he will certainly not let you off." Yi Shiwen understood that Feng Wuying had attacked in such a strong and ruthless manner, and had only targeted Yi Kuang and Yi Qiong. It was very obvious that he was here for him. "But if I don't fight, then won't they look down on our Yi clan? They'll think that I'm timid." Yi Shiwen opened his mouth and said, "That's nothing." Yi Zhenqian shook his head. "Our Yi clan's prestige is earned by ourselves. Others can't look down on us just because they look down on us. Moreover, our opponent is a colossus like the ancient Phoenix domain. Our human race as a whole has the ability to contend against them. So, it's not a big deal for us to retreat now. Yi Kuang and Yi Qiong have been seriously injured. I'm afraid that they won't be able to recover within a year. And if you go on stage, I'm afraid that you'll be crippled on the spot. For our Yi clan, this would be a real loss. Compared to this, a mere reputation is nothing." Yi Zhenqian said, "You clearly know what the opponent wants to do, but you still send yourself to their doorstep. That's purely courting death. You know that this kind of thing, the clan can't help you. Even the Imperial Court can't help you. Just like when you beat up the Phoenix sect, they could only admit defeat. Now, they've sent an even stronger Feng Wuying to get back at them. Us old guys absolutely won't intervene. Otherwise, we'll be breaking the rules of the game." Yi Zhenqian said, "This matter has arisen because of me. How can I just let it go?" Yi Shiwen waved his hand and said, "Moreover, we're pinning our hopes on the 5 tycoons. Some of them are hiding their strength. This in itself isn't very reliable. But there's no other way. If we could intervene, how could we let him go on like this?" Yi Zhenqian said helplessly, "Many things weren't that simple. Master, I request to fight. The opponent has clearly come for me. I can't just ignore it. Moreover, I've also made some progress in this period of time. It's not like I don't have the strength to fight back." Chapter 1669. There was an incomparably huge planet in the depths of the vast starry sky. Its circumference was so large that it seemed boundless. It was almost comparable to a plane. Such a huge planet was rare even in the depths of the vast starry sky. Such a huge planet would have evolved into a plane over a long period of time. It would form a world if it went further up. And this world was divided into different types, such as a small world, a medium world, a big world, and so on. The true martial world where Yi Shiwen used to live was a small world. This planet had been set up for the last alliance meeting in order to resist the devil race. The major forces were on guard against each other. Therefore, no one was at ease to let anyone enter each other's territory. Therefore, they had chosen to hold the alliance meeting in the depths of the starry sky. However, countless years had passed since the last alliance meeting. So, this planet was like a dusty room that had been open for a long time. A streamer of light streaked across the sky. Many tyrannical figures were heading towards the planet where the alliance meeting was being held. This time's alliance meeting was very impressive. All the forces of the four races had sent a large number of experts. Among the human race, apart from the four royal families and the 28 noble families, all the rogue cultivator sects had also sent their own experts. Countless formidable auras filled the entire planet. These auras were rarely seen on ordinary days. However, they could be seen everywhere like cabbages on the roadside at this time. More and more formidable figures were rushing over from the depths of the starry sky. Crash! The void was torn open. An incomparably formidable power of thunder flashed through the void. It had already entered the interior of the planet when it appeared again. So powerful. This is the legendary thunderbolt of the Thunder Clan. The auras of many tyrannical experts of the celestial realm appeared in the void at this time. This is the true strength of the marquee clan of our human race. Compared to them, we are just individual cultivators. My cultivation is pretty good among individual cultivators. However, it still can't be compared to the genuine marquee clan, let alone the four royal clans whose strength is above the marquee clan. An old monster of the 9th level of the celestial realm said at this time. He had cultivated for many years, yet he had only stepped into the 9th heaven of the heaven tier. He was indeed unable to be mentioned in the same breath as these marquee clans and royal clans. Although the Thunder Clan is not bad, it is still far from the four great royal clans. Thinking back to the era when the four great human kings were unhindered and looked down on everyone. Just thinking about it is enough to make people excited. Some people disagreed and said, the purpose of this alliance meeting is to deal with the demon race. If we can establish a relationship with the royal court, then it will be no different from soaring to the sky. With the support of the royal court's resources, we can also develop greatly. Furthermore, if we can have a dazzling performance in this exorcism war, we might even have a chance to be promoted to a marquee clan. These marquee clans have only been promoted to marquee clans because they put in a lot of effort during the War for Independence and the Exorcism War. That's true, but it's not that simple. We're not like the marquee clan. Their clan leader has a high position in the royal court. Someone shook his head. Moreover, to increase the strength of the marquee, luck is indispensable. Otherwise, after so many wars over the years, there would not be only 28 marquee clans. Sigh. I'm just afraid that the scale of the war will expand. Apart from the marquee and royal clans, just us alone, how many people truly have the confidence to survive this invasion of the demon race? This is not a small skirmish like before. I previously had a friend who was a patriarch of a sect and had a cultivation of the 9th heaven of the heaven tier. In the end, as soon as he arrived on the battlefield, he didn't even last 10 days before dying tragically in the royal court's crack to the demon realm. He was surrounded by a few 9th heaven of the heaven tier demons, and he couldn't stop them at all. Who knows how many heaven tier experts died or were injured? Someone said with lingering fear, in a war of this level, the experts of the royal court who die or are injured every day should pay attention to us rogue cultivator giant sects and completely fall. The royal court's foundation was unbelievably deep, especially for rogue cultivators like them. As these people spoke, they moved toward the planet at lightning speed. In just a moment, they had already rushed into the planet's atmosphere. However, at this time, the Thunder Clan experts, who had already left them far behind, were suddenly stopped by someone. In front of the Thunderbolt, an incomparably huge pearl emitting a deep blue radiance blocked the way. It's the experts of the Sea Clan. These people were also experienced and knowledgeable. Although they might not have the upper hand in terms of strength, they had seen a lot over the years. At first glance, they recognized that the people in front of the Thunder Clan were experts of the Sea Clan. Advanced Sea Palace, do you want to fight with us in this meeting? At this time, a muffled voice of a middle-aged man came from the Thunderbolt. It turned out to be the Advanced Sea Palace and the Thunder Clan. No wonder they're going against each other. These rogue cultivators also had a look of understanding. The Thunder Clan's cultivation method was mainly based on thunder and lightning, which was an incomparable restraint for the Sea Clan. Therefore, the Thunder Clan had always been at the forefront of the war against the Sea Clan. Over the years, countless Sea Clan members had died in the hands of the Thunder Clan. Among them, the Sea Clan's territory was adjacent to the Thunder Clan, and there had been countless conflicts between them. When the two sides met, they would fight to the death. At this time, it was normal for a conflict to break out. After a long confrontation, both sides finally left and entered the planet. So just looking at the grudges between the Advanced Sea Palace and the Thunder Clan, I'm not optimistic about the outcome of this meeting. Someone sighed and said, with so many contradictions, will anyone be willing to join the alliance? But haven't there been precedents of successful alliance meetings in the past? Another person asked, how can that be the same? Back then, the Demon Clan invaded like a raging fire and occupied half of the ancient Barrens continent. The various clans joined forces to protect themselves. But now, although the Demon Clan's attacks are like a tidal wave, they are firmly blocked by the Imperial Court. The situation isn't that desperate yet. Moreover, the Human Clan has more to ask of them. From the beginning, both sides weren't of the same mind. How can we hope that they will be of the same mind as the Human Clan? The person continued to answer, no matter what, these matters will be resolved by the Imperial Court. We don't have to worry about it. Then why are we still holding this meeting? We know that there's no chance of success. In order to set the main tone, and it's not necessarily impossible, everything depends on how much the various clans are willing to compromise with each other. As they spoke, they entered the planet's interior. The entire planet was as huge as a plane. In the center of the planet, there was a huge group of palaces. The Yi Clan's group arrived quietly. In this gathering of the behemoths of the ancient barons, even the noble Marquis clan was just one of the many nobles. They weren't too outstanding. In reality, there weren't many of them. Other than the clan head Yi Tianxiong, there were a few old antiques that Yi Shiwen had never seen before. All of them were at the peak of the celestial realm. Although there weren't many of them, they were incomparably elite. With such a combination, even if they were surrounded by the Demon Clan, they would be able to successfully break out. This time, a large number of clans were coming. Naturally, each clan couldn't bring too many people. In reality, there wasn't a need to bring too many people. However, without exception, those who came were either the strongest or one of the strongest. Even if each clan only brought 2 or 3 people, the number of experts gathered on the entire planet was no less than 1,000. It could even be said that many of the elites of the ancient barons were gathered here. The Yi Clan's group quietly entered the group of palaces of the Human Clan and quietly waited for the start of the alliance meeting. After entering the palace, Yi Shiwen directly entered into a state of closed-door cultivation to adjust himself to his best state. However, this place was much more chaotic than what Yi Shiwen had originally imagined. Almost every day, there would be news of clashing between large clans. Who knew how many small clans would use this opportunity to settle their grievances? Under such a complicated situation, it seemed to be even more difficult to settle their grievances and thus lay the foundation for the alliance meeting. There were also more people who became more pessimistic about the outcome of this alliance meeting. Amidst the chaos, it was like the chaos before the storm. It made everyone even more nervous. And under such a situation, F.A. Wushuang, whom Yi Shiwen hadn't seen for a long time, came to find him. F.A. Wushuang, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, was still wearing a long robe and standing straight like a spear. What a dashing person. Yi Shiwen was also very curious about F.A. Wushuang's arrival. He didn't know why F.A. Wushuang would come to find him at this time. How do you have time to find me at this time? At this time, there should be many people from various clans coming to challenge you. Yi Shiwen said with a smile. These days, not only were the major clans settling their grievances, but there were also many battles between the younger generation. In particular, the top Heaven's Pride experts of various clans were considered top geniuses in their respective clans. At this time, no one was willing to concede to the other. How could they let each other be the champion? Especially the Human Clan, This time, they had become the target of public criticism. It seemed that all clans were deliberately looking for trouble with the human clan. The five giants of the younger generation almost couldn't avoid receiving all kinds of challenge invitations. I'm not interested in this kind of boring competition. This time, I came to find you for a serious matter, Fa Wushuang said. In this star territory, traces of the demon clan's activities have appeared. When Yi Shiwen heard this, his face immediately became dignified. Chapter 1670. I'm not interested in such a boring competition. I'm here for serious business. Fa Wushuang said, there are traces of the demon race's activities in this star region. Why would the demon race be active in this star region? Yi Shiwen asked curiously. After all, there were too many experts gathered in this star region. At this time, the demon race's activities in this area would be suicidal. Apart from the human race, the experts of other races wouldn't mind killing the demon race if it was necessary, even if they hadn't fallen out with the demon race yet. I'm not very clear about the specifics. That's why the higher-ups ordered me to investigate. If it's the demon race's activities, I'll find out their purpose. Fa Wushuang said with a solemn expression. Yi Shiwen nodded. In fact, this was a meeting of the various races. However, it had been called by the human race. In other words, the human race had an urgent need to form an alliance. So, they were the masters of this meeting. Everyone was very clear about this. If the demon race were to intervene at this time and cause a commotion, it would be a huge problem, especially the Abyss Devil Master. He had always been a huge threat to the human race. Originally, with the remaining members of the demon race in the ancient Barons continent, it was impossible for them to pose any threat to the human race. However, due to the existence of the Abyss Devil Master, everything became unknown. Often, he could destroy the entire battlefield by himself. No one could stop them. If it weren't for the human race having some foundation, the entire human race's battlefront would have been destroyed by the Abyss Devil Master. Therefore, the higher-ups of the human race were very concerned about the demon race's movements. It was reasonable. Originally, Yi Shiwen planned to rest at the station and wait for the meeting. However, since Fa Wushuang had said so, he was willing to give Fa Wushuang face. Soon, they gathered outside the planet. In addition to Yi Shiwen and Fa Wushuang, there were also some old antiques. These were the mainstays of royal court. They were the talents cultivated by royal court. All these years, they had been guarding royal court, and they were the greatest guarantee of royal court. If it weren't for the fact that they had to sit on the planet and deter the experts of the various races, they wouldn't have been specially transferred from the royal court, which had a tight battle line. This time, the main force was actually these people. As for Yi Shiwen, it was actually more for show because royal court wanted to cultivate them, so they also had to contribute to royal court. Yi Shiwen and Fa Wushuang paled in comparison to these professional demon hunters who had been fighting against the devil race for many years. After these people gathered outside the planet, they split up and went in different directions to search. At this time, it was the time of the meeting, so they couldn't make a big fuss. If it was just an ordinary person, then it would be useless. Even if they were able to find it, they would be dead. Therefore, even these old antiques were sent out. Yi Shiwen and Fa Wushuang formed a team and headed towards the depths of the starry sky. As they flew, Yi Shiwen quickly found some clues. He was very sensitive to demonic aura, even more so than the others. This was because he cultivated the devil race's cultivation method, so he was naturally very sensitive to this demonic aura. After finding the clues, Yi Shiwen hurried to the depths of the star field. Fa Wushuang didn't hesitate in the slightest when it came to this question. He didn't ask Yi Shiwen how he knew either. He just followed Yi Shiwen all the way into the depths of the star field. Next to them, planets streaked past their ears. The two of them were extremely fast, and the two of them were extremely skilled. They constantly tore through the void, and their figures flickered. When they appeared again, they were already very far away. The depths of the starry sky were vast and boundless. It was impossible for those below the celestial realm to cross it. Just by relying on one's own flight, one wouldn't be able to fly to the end. Only by constantly tearing through the void like this could one cross the starry sky. Even so, it was still very difficult to cross the void. Soon, Fa Wushuang realized that Yi Shiwen was right. It was indeed in this direction. The demonic aura was extremely dense, and the closer they got, the denser the demonic aura became. Could it be that we've entered the demon race's lair? Fa Wushuang asked with a solemn expression. Everyone knew that the demon race's lair in the ancient Baron's continent wasn't anywhere else, but in the depths of the starry sky. Even so, without a star map, the various forces of the ancient Baron's continent wouldn't dare to chase after them. That was because the depths of the star field were extremely dangerous. There were various interstellar storms that could even tear apart celestial realm experts. It was known as the most dangerous place in the ancient Baron's continent. The demon race could only hide in there to avoid the slaughter of the various races in the ancient Baron's continent. Even so, for so many years, the various forces of the ancient Baron's continent had never given up on exploring the depths of the star field and the demon race's lair. However, there was still no news. Otherwise, they would have already flattened the demon race's lair. Fa Wushuang's expression was a little solemn, but he was more excited. Yi Shiwen suddenly became excited as well. If they really found the demon race's lair, it would be a huge matter. At that time, it would be hard to say how many experts would be in there. The two of them quickly arrived outside a planet. They didn't know what method the demon race had used to modify the planet. Looking from afar, it actually looked like a demon's face. It opened its bloody mouth as if it wanted to swallow the entire sky. In the starry sky, countless spiritual energy was swallowed by this huge mouth. However, what was swallowed was demonic energy. This was also the foundation of the demon race's survival in the ancient barons. Otherwise, just like how the people of the ancient barons couldn't breathe demonic energy, they couldn't use spiritual energy either. Obviously, they used a formation to convert spiritual energy into demonic energy. As expected, we really found the demon race's lair. At the very least, it's one of the demon race's bases, Fa Wushuang said. The two of them hid in a distant meteorite. Looking over, they saw countless demons entering and exiting the planet. The security was tight, and they didn't relax just because it was located in a remote place. What should we do? Should we go back and report now? Fa Wushuang looked at Yi Shiwen and said, Look, this entire planet has been transformed into a small devil world by these demons. Moreover, we can feel the fluctuations of the formation even from far away. It's obvious that they are arranging some kind of formation. Moreover, the formation is about to be completed. If we don't organize it in time, then I'm afraid the consequences will be unimaginable. If I'm not wrong, this formation should be arranged at this time to deal with us humans. Yi Shiwen looked at the terrible formation and said, he could see further than Fa Wushuang because he had a big devil by his side. So, he was exceptionally sensitive to these things. In fact, he was much more sensitive than Fa Wushuang. What should we do? Fa Wushuang asked. I will sneak in and see. If I can destroy it, then I will try to destroy it. You stay here and guard. Yi Shiwen said. No, it's too dangerous. Fa Wushuang repeatedly shook his head and said, There's nothing we can do even if it's dangerous. Right now, we still don't know what kind of formation they have arranged. If we really let them succeed, then our alliance meeting will really be over. Yi Shiwen said, Moreover, I have my own way to not be discovered by them. All right then, I will support you here. If there's really a problem, immediately escape. Fa Wushuang looked at Yi Shiwen for a while. Seeing that Yi Shiwen was determined, he finally had no choice but to agree. Yes, I will. Yi Shiwen nodded. As he spoke, his figure had already turned into a streamer and went deep into the planet. Fa Wushuang looked at him and faintly felt a little nervous. Originally, he still had a little bit of excitement, but it had also disappeared without a trace. At this time, he only cared about whether Yi Shiwen could enter the planet smoothly or not. He was already prepared. If Yi Shiwen failed, then he would immediately go to support Yi Shiwen. After that, he saw that when Yi Shiwen entered the Devil Domain planet, Although he was blocked by some people, he smoothly passed the inspection of the guards outside and entered the planet. Fa Wushuang's eyes widened in disbelief. He didn't know how Yi Shiwen did it. One must know that judging from the formation, the guards inside must be very strict and serious. It was impossible to deceive them and pass through. At that time, what surprised him was that Yi Shiwen actually swaggered in with the appearance of a human. Yes, at this time, Yi Shiwen saw that there were many demons next to him who wanted to interrogate Yi Shiwen. However, they were scared off by his eyes. Yi Shiwen was dressed like a human, but his body was exuding pure devil energy. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary low-grade devil energy. On the contrary, it was very pure. It was the kind of devil energy that could only be emitted by a superior devil expert. Therefore, these inferior demons simply didn't dare to stop him. Among the demon race, this kind of classification between superior demons and inferior demons was very common. For example, the Azura tribe was divided into ordinary Azura and great Azura. The demon race was also divided into ordinary demon race and great demon race. Right now, although they didn't know which race Yi Shiwen was from, they could judge from his aura that he should be a superior demon. After all, this was the ancient Barrens continent. It was common to disguise as a human to sneak into the ancient Barrens, so it wasn't strange for them to do so. "Stop! You're not allowed to enter." Suddenly, the captain of a patrol team of the demon race stepped forward and stopped Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen glanced at him coldly and said coldly, "What did you say?" His expression was arrogant, and he looked at the captain of the demon race as if he was looking at a pig. It was as if he was saying, "How dare a mere inferior demon talk to me like this?" Chapter 16, 71. "Sir, we want to check your identity card." The squad leader of the Devil Clan looked at Yi Shiwen unyieldingly. Slap! Yi Shiwen slapped him directly, and the face of the squad leader of the Devil Clan was smashed into a ball on the spot. "Who do you think you are? How dare you check my identity card?" Yi Shiwen took advantage of the situation and said. He didn't expect that they would ask to check his identity card. He naturally didn't have one at this time. At this time, the squad leader of the Fiend race looked as if he had been beaten silly. However, the other demons didn't seem surprised at all. In the demon realm, it was very common for a high-ranked demon to beat a low-ranked demon. Moreover, they were also secretly surprised in their hearts. This superior demon with a human appearance was very strong. This squad leader of the Devil Clan of the Celestial Realm was directly beaten without any reaction. It should be said that he couldn't react at all. They were secretly surprised in their hearts. How could they dare to provoke Yi Shiwen again at this time? "Can you bear the punishment for delaying this uncle's business?" This uncle specially came back to report. "This is a task personally ordered by the Devil Lord." "Why? Do you also want to intervene?" Yi Shiwen coldly glanced at these demons. The arrogant aura exuded from his bones firmly suppressed them. These demons didn't even dare to raise their heads to look at him. This uncle has been undercover in the human race for so many years to protect trash like you. Now, you actually dare to interrogate me. I think you are all tired of living." Yi Shiwen said coldly. Yes, it's all our fault." At this time, the squad leader of the Devil Clan didn't have the toughness from before. Regardless of the identity of this person, compared to his appearance, there was no mistaking his aura. It was the aura of a superior demon. Although they didn't know what method he used, since he was a spy in the upper echelons of the human race, it was obviously very important for the lonely Devil Clan in the ancient times. It was not something that middle-level demons like them could know. Moreover, they also knew from his mouth that this was actually something personally ordered by the Devil Lord. Now, the human race has invited all the major races to have a meeting in the depths of the starry sky. I've come back to report this matter. If any of you can lead the way for me, I'll give you a share of the benefits." Yi Shiwen glanced at the numerous devils and said. His oppressive eyes made these devils lower their heads in succession. "I'll do it, sir. I've been in charge of patrolling these years, so I'm very familiar with this base." The captain of the Devil Clan quickly stepped forward and said politely. He had recklessly caused a huge disaster, so he naturally had to think of a remedy at this time. Otherwise, as long as Yi Shiwen said a word in front of the Devil Lord, he would be finished. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes. His words revealed a very important piece of information. That was, this place wasn't the Devil Race's lair. It was merely a base. I haven't been here for many years. The construction of this base is quite good. It's becoming more and more like the environment of the Devil World. Yi Shiwen went all the way to the depths of the planet under the leadership of the squad leader of the Devil Race. He was incomparably shocked in his heart. There were many devils living on this planet. There were also many devils and monsters that could only be seen in the Devil World. It was just like a miniature version of the Devil World. Yi Shiwen was incomparably shocked in his heart. The Devil World had developed a lot of forces in the depths of the starry sky over the years. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to attack the human race by surprise. That's natural. Our Devil Race still needs to live in such an environment in order to develop. Devils like us who have entered the celestial being realm can naturally get rid of the dependence on demonic energy. However, there are still many small devils who can't get rid of the demonic energy for cultivation. In order to build this base, we have spent a lot of resources. Sir, you've been undercover in the human race for many years. So, you may not know that we're no longer the same as before. Especially after the emergence of the Devil Lord, all the scattered forces of the Devil Race have gathered together. Our strength has soared, and it's enough to compete with the human race. The squad leader of the Devil Race said proudly. This is indeed good, but what's going on with this formation? Yi Shiwen asked. Perhaps Yi Shiwen's words had scared him, so he wasn't on guard at all. He said in a slightly flattering tone, "It's what you said just now about the human race gathering in the depths of the starry sky. We're planning to wipe them all out. Humph, we may not be as powerful as the human race in the ancient barrens. However, in the depths of the starry sky, even if the other races have considerable forces here, how can they compare with us? This time, we must give them a good impression and leave a deep impression. These are the high-level people of the human race or other races. If we wipe them all out in one go, it'll be equivalent to injuring a part of their strength. It'll be much easier to conquer the ancient barrens by then. The formation here connects to the depths of the space-time. In addition to this base, there are 3 other bases. We'll form a large formation and completely transform this starry sky into a devil domain in one fell swoop. We'll wipe them all out in one fell swoop." The squad leader of the Devil Race wasn't on guard at all. Of course, this was the extent of what he knew. As for more specific details, he naturally didn't know what kind of formation it was, how powerful it was, how to activate it, and so on. Yi Shiwen looked from the sky and saw that the entire planet had been refined into the formation eye of a formation. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. With a planet as the formation eye, it was hard to imagine how huge this formation would be. At this time, he couldn't help but secretly say that his and Fa Wushuang's previous speculation was right. It was indeed like this. The Devil Race had indeed prepared a shocking conspiracy. Although the entire planet was used as the formation eye, the formation eye was also composed of countless formations. It was very huge. Yi Shiwen couldn't destroy it even if he wanted to. He had already felt a few extremely terrifying auras lying dormant in it. They were the supreme masters of the Devil Race. Coupled with the Devil Race's army, Yi Shiwen couldn't guarantee that he could escape once he was trapped in it. Now, the most important thing was to report the entire matter. As for whether the alliance meeting would continue, it was the matter of the higher-ups. It had nothing to do with them. Just as he was thinking about how to escape, the surrounding demonic lights suddenly flew out of the planet. Many Devil Race members rushed out by stepping on the demonic lights. What the hell is going on? Yi Shiwen quickly asked the squad leader of the Devil Race next to him. At this time, the squad leader of the Devil Race also received the news from the higher-ups of the patrol team. He quickly said to Yi Shiwen, "There are humans invading outside. It just so happens that Sir Devil Lord has returned." He saw through his disguise at a glance. "Now, I've received an order to go out and explore the surroundings to see if there are any other humans. This is related to whether we can capture the higher-ups of the ancient Barrens continent in one fell swoop. Once the secret is leaked, we won't have such a good opportunity anymore. I'll go and see if I can be of any help. I originally wanted to come back and inform the higher-ups. However, since everyone knows about it now, it doesn't matter if I inform them or not," said Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen's heart was in complete chaos. The news of the Devil Lord's return was incomparably shocking to him. To him, the Devil Lord was undoubtedly a terrifying existence. Last time, the Demon Lord, who had just broken free not long ago, had caused the tragedy of the Wind King planet. It was unknown how many experts of the younger generation had died in that incident on the Wind King planet. Even Bai Shaosheng, a newly formed organization, had to use all of their resources to defeat the Devil Lord. It should be said that after the Devil Lord got what he wanted, he retreated. He originally came for the Yin Yang life and death illustration, but he only obtained more than half of it. Yi Shiwen had no doubt that if the Devil Lord saw him again, it would inevitably be a tragic pursuit. If it was in normal times, he would definitely find a way to escape first. In the face of a powerhouse like the Devil Lord, he didn't even want to face him. He didn't even want to meet him. However, this time he had no choice. Because he suspected that the human who was discovered was most likely Fa Wushuang. He couldn't just watch and do nothing. Yi Shiwen followed the squad leader of the Devil Clan and rushed all the way out. As soon as he left the planet's surface, he suddenly felt a monstrous demonic aura rolling up. A terrifying coercion crushed every place in this star region. And in the center of this force, there was a peerless figure. It was like the reincarnation of a devil god. With a raise of his hand and a kick, the entire world changed crazily, as if a stormy sea was set off all of a sudden. The Abyss Devil Lord. It really was the Abyss Devil Lord. Yi Shiwen's pupils suddenly shrank. The Abyss Devil Lord. It really was the Abyss Devil Lord. He would never mistake it for someone else. That figure was too deep for him. This was the third time he saw the Abyss Devil Lord, and each time was more shocking than the last. In front of him was a white-robed figure. He was barely holding on in the midst of the terrifying demonic aura. He was like a proud and aloof swallow that was flying amidst the raging waves, as if he was going to fight against the wind and waves. Sure enough, as Yi Shiwen guessed, it was Fa Wushuang. At this time, Fa Wushuang was actually discovered. It should be said that his luck was so bad that he actually encountered the Abyss Devil Lord who had just returned to the base. "How dare you come to my base?" said the Abyss Devil Lord in a deep voice. He raised his hand. Whoosh! The entire world changed color, and a terrifying power instantly rolled up. Chapter 1672. This terrifying force turned into a torrent of energy that surged forward like the Yellow River. It instantly bombarded Fa Wushuang's direction. Fa Wushuang simply couldn't dodge. At this time, he was like a small boat in this stormy sea, constantly bobbing up and down. He simply couldn't control himself. His entire body was locked by the Abyss Demon Lord. At this time, even if he wanted to escape, it was simply impossible. He could only watch as the Abyss Demon Lord's attack fiercely fell on his body. Bang! A loud sound was heard. A terrifying power directly bombarded Fa Wushuang's body. All of his strength instantly boiled up, but he still couldn't block the bombardment of this torrent of energy. This torrent of energy was clearly the law that the Abyss Demon Lord had comprehended. It instantly swept up and directly wreaked havoc on Fa Wushuang's body. Puff! He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his entire body flew out like a shooting star. Then he smashed into a meteorite and turned it into dust. Then he slowly slowed down. His eyes were filled with stubbornness as he looked at the Devil King and said, "You must be the Devil King of the Abyss." Haha, I didn't think that today Fa Wushuang, would be able to see the legendary Devil King of the Abyss. According to the legends, you are the strongest cultivator of the Devil Clan. I didn't think that I would have the opportunity to fight against you. Ha, this is great. Ha ha. But now, all of you have already fallen. The Abyss Demon Lord sighed, as if he was a lonely expert. You are Fa Wushuang. Your name is very famous. Even I have heard of you. I can see that you are also a man. How about it? I will give you a chance. Now, as long as you surrender to our demon race, I will personally transform you into a human demon. At that time, you will be able to choose all kinds of supreme martial arts. You will also become a high-level expert of our demon race. Isn't it better than being in the human race? The Abyss Demon Lord tempted. His voice was murmuring. He actually used an illusion technique. Puff! Fa Wushuang spat out a mouthful of blood. At the crucial moment, he bit his own tongue to break free from the Abyss Demon Lord's illusion. It was too scary. The Abyss Devil Lord didn't care much about it. He had used the soul-assimilating great technique with just a simple sentence. Compared to him, the other devils that Yi Shiwen had encountered before were like a bunch of dog sh*t. You can actually be so cruel to use such a method to escape my illusion? Abyssal Demon King looked at Fa Wushuang coldly. Looks like you're going to refuse a toast, only to drink a forfeit. Fa Wushuang will only die in battle. There will never be a Fa Wushuang who surrenders. The blood that flows in my body is the blood of the human race. Even if I die, I won't forget it for even a moment. At this moment, Fa Wushuang laughed bitterly. It's just a body of blood essence. As long as you're willing, I can replace your blood essence. You don't even need your physical body. These are all burdens. They're nothing, the Abyss Demon Lord said disdainfully. It was obvious that he didn't care about Fa Wushuang's insistence. I don't understand. What kind of person am I? Why do I have to trouble the Abyss Demon Lord to recruit me? Fa Wushuang spat out a mouthful of blood and said, You're indeed not a big shot. There are many people in the human race who are more powerful than you. However, you're the so-called heaven's pride fostered by the human race. If even you surrender to our human race, then how big of a blow would it be to your human race? Unfortunately, you still don't know how to appreciate favors. The Abyss Demon Lord sighed and said, thinking back in the past, Demon Lord, you were also defeated by the ancestors of our human race. You were sealed until now. It is said that you would have turned into a cup of soil if you hadn't seen through the profound meaning of life and death. Why didn't you surrender at that time? If you had surrendered, then you would have been an honored guest of our race. At this time, Fa Wushuang asked, when the Abyss Demon Lord was suppressed under the seal, why didn't he surrender? If he surrendered, then everything would have been different. He wouldn't have been imprisoned for so many years. Ah, interesting. You're an interesting human. Just as you think, what kind of person am I? How could I surrender to your human race and become a dog? This is fake. Now everything has been reversed. 30 years in the East, 30 years in the West. It's time for me to take revenge for being suppressed. The Abyss Demon Lord laughed loudly and said, That's right. Demon Lord, you have your dignity. Although I'm only an insignificant person in your eyes, I also have my dignity. I'd rather die standing than live kneeling. Become a dog of the demon race? I'm not that cheap, Fa Wushuang said with a bitter smile. You're quite interesting. The Abyss Demon Lord looked at Fa Wushuang and said, All right, seeing that you still have a bit of backbone, just like me in the past, I originally wanted to kill you and turn your corpse into a puppet. But now that I think about it, I'll leave your corpse intact and let you rest in peace. Although the Abyss Demon Lord's words had a sense of sympathy, his arrogance was undoubtedly reflected. Leaving Fa Wushuang's corpse intact and let him rest in peace showed that he had completely taken advantage of Fa Wushuang. However, this was indeed the case. He only needed to make a slight move to completely defeat Fa Wushuang. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. This was the true strength that he relied on to move unhindered in the world. Thank you, Demon Lord. Then come, let me see what other tricks you have. Fa Wushuang struggled to stand up. Although he was seriously injured, he was still standing straight like a spear. Then, you can go and die. The Abyss Demon Lord shouted coldly. Countless laws manifested around him, bringing with it a monstrous power that turned into a boundless torrent of energy, instantly bombarding Fa Wushuang. At this time, Fa Wushuang's body also emitted a strong power. He actually intended to fight against the Abyss Demon Lord. Fight until death. This sentence had the best conclusion from him. No matter when, even when he was in the most dangerous situation, Fa Wushuang never gave up. Swoosh! Suddenly, a golden figure directly crossed the void. In the void, it turned into a huge golden hand, instantly grabbing Fa Wushuang. Bang! Fa Wushuang didn't have time to react. He was directly grabbed by the huge golden hand and instantly brought 1,000 miles away. Boom! The place where he was standing a moment ago was instantly submerged by a huge torrent of energy. The terrifying power tore apart everything in front of him. The terrifying power instantly boiled, completely shattering the space, and the chaos poured out from within. Because the space was completely shattered, the entire place turned into a chaotic ocean. It looked extremely spectacular, let alone Fa Wushuang. Even if there were a few more, it would be completely useless. Yi Shiwen, at this critical moment, Fa Wushuang, who originally wanted to resist, instantly recognized the origin of this huge hand. Therefore, he didn't resist and let Yi Shiwen take him away. Of course it's me. At this time, besides me, who else could it be? Yi Shiwen couldn't help but curse. You were really brave just now. You even dared to fight against the Abyss Demon Lord. Ha! Actually, in his eyes, perhaps I'm not even as good as an ant. I just want to die a little better. Fa Wushuang laughed bitterly as he vomited blood. Die a little better? Hao said, these words are exactly what I'm thinking. I've heard a saying before. Although it's a bit vulgar, it's the words of a man. If a man dies, he'll face the sky. If he doesn't die, he'll live for thousands of years. Since he's going to die anyway, he'll drag someone down with him. Yi Shiwen said while laughing loudly. There's actually a survivor of the human race. You still have the mood to joke at this time. I have to say, your minds are very firm. Suddenly, the Abyss Demon Lord's incomparably cold voice sounded. Unknowingly, the Abyss Demon Lord had already appeared behind Yi Shiwen and Fa Wushuang. It's you. Suddenly, just when the Abyss Demon Lord was about to form a big hand and capture the two of them, he recognized Yi Shiwen. Ha 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 ha. I've really worn out iron shoes in fruitless search, and found it by chance. I didn't expect that the yin-yang life and death diagram fragment that I've been searching for so long would actually appear here at this time. I'm really blessed by the heavens. During this period of time, he had been thinking of ways to collect the yin-yang life and death diagram fragment. Although he had more than half of it in his hands, it was only a fragment. A larger fragment, without the complete yin-yang life and death diagram, he wouldn't be able to truly understand life and death, and he wouldn't be able to truly cross that step. He didn't know how long it would take to truly cross that step, but if he had the yin-yang life and death diagram, he would be able to step into that realm in one fell swoop in a short period of time. At that time, with the current situation of the ancient wilderness and the demon realm, he would truly be the only one in the entire world. How could he not be ecstatic at this time? Freeze! At this time, the Abyss Demon Lord shouted loudly. Suddenly, Yi Shiwen felt a terrifying power of law entangling his body, instantly freezing him. The Abyss Demon Lord was also getting closer and closer, almost catching up in an instant. The two of them could even feel the Abyss Demon Lord's heavy breathing. Yi Shiwen, I'm sorry this time. I found you, but I didn't expect that I would implicate you and I to die together. Fa Wushuang said with a bitter smile. Are you kidding me? I don't intend to die yet. Yi Shiwen shouted loudly. Suddenly, a terrifying power boiled within his body, and endless golden light flooded out, turning into pieces of armor around his body. In an instant, Yi Shiwen, who was originally unable to move, leapt out again in that instant. Chapter 1673. Whoosh! Yi Shiwen's body, which had been frozen in place, flew out in an instant. He flew hundreds of miles away at an extremely fast speed. No one had expected that Yi Shiwen, who had been frozen in place, would still have such strength at this time. He had flown out in an instant. The demons behind him, including the Abyss Demon Master, were completely stunned at this time. It was completely out of their expectations. Under the pressure of the Abyss Demon Master, Yi Shiwen could actually break free. What on earth was that layer of mecha on his body? But at this time, everyone didn't stay in a daze for too long. After all, they were all experienced experts, especially the Abyssal Demon Lord, who reacted almost instantly and chased after them. Behind him, Yi Shiwen spread a pair of golden wings and sped up again, once again leaving the Abyss Demon Master behind. Both of them were extremely fast, constantly tearing the void and flashing away. The demons behind could only watch as the two disappeared. They couldn't believe it and murmured, "How is this possible? I can't believe it. This is the Abyss Demon Master. How can this human escape from the pursuit of the Abyss Demon Master? Such a fast movement technique. This human's movement technique is so fast. It's simply as fast as lightning. Even if this is just a spirit incarnation of the Abyss Demon Master, it's still a bit too terrifying." At this time, a demon revealed the truth. This was just a spirit incarnation of the Abyss Demon Master. And at this time, Yi Shiwen, who had already disappeared thousands of miles away, also realized this. The Abyss Demon Master behind him was a bit weaker than he imagined. He was no longer as terrifying as an ant when he first saw him, although he was many times stronger than before. If he carefully recalled the scene back then, he could still feel the tyrannical and terrifying scene of invincibility. Even the current him was still not a match for the Abyss Demon Master. Could it be that this was just a spirit incarnation? Yi Shiwen immediately had a plan. This was the only possibility. If the Abyss Demon Master only had this kind of strength, how could he break through the Imperial Court's defense line several times and break through the solid defense line of the human race? This level of strength was enough to protect themselves on the battlefield, but if they wanted to attack a colossus like the Royal Court, it was simply impossible. But even then, just a soul incarnation could chase up to Yi Shiwen, who could fight against peak Heaven Realm experts after wearing the mecha. One could imagine how terrifying it was. Such strength in the ancient desolate region could only be described as King Realm. They were above Heaven Realm, but hadn't broken through to the next realm. They were still at peak Heaven Realm, but could easily crush normal peak Heaven Realm experts. This was the so-called King Division of the Heaven Realm peak. Experts at this level far surpassed ordinary Heaven Realm experts. He had seen Demon King Jiuying, Kuan Peng, and the Lord of Yi Clan. All of them were terrifying experts of this level. They hadn't broken into the next realm, but they were powerful enough to dominate this realm. They were powerful enough to crush any enemy on the battlefield. Although this level of strength was strong, it was nothing compared to the Abyss Demon Master's battle record. But if it was just a soul incarnation, then it made sense. And a soul incarnation was actually comparable to the leaders of the various factions. This Abyss Demon Master's strength was simply immeasurable. Using Yi Shiwen's understanding, he was like a bug. His appearance broke the balance between the human race and the other races, as well as the demon race. There was simply no one to restrict the Abyss Demon Master. If it wasn't for the fact that the human race still had a few king weapons left behind by the human kings to barely block the Abyss Demon Master, the Royal Court's defense line would have been pierced through by him alone. The Abyssal Demon Lord was already one of the top experts of the previous demon invasion. At that time, the various clans of the Desolate Era could only seal the Abyssal Demon Lord but could not kill him. In these countless years, his strength had become even stronger, and his cultivation had risen to a whole new level. However, the current human race could not be compared to the glorious scene of the 4 human kings and countless feudal vassals. Those top experts seemed to have all disappeared in one night. There was a deep secret that even Yi Shiwen didn't know, but just a soul incarnation was already so difficult to deal with. It was a king rank among the peak of the Heaven Realm. It wasn't something that Yi Shiwen could deal with at the moment. If it wasn't for this mecha, Yi Shiwen wouldn't be able to fight against him at all. Boom! 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 The Abyss Demon Master chased closely behind Yi Shiwen. He kept reaching out with his big hands, trying to grab Yi Shiwen to death. It wasn't easy to see Yi Shiwen. There was hope of completing the yin-yang life and death diagram. How could he let Yi Shiwen go so easily? Instantly, a terrifying power swept out. But Yi Shiwen was like a loach. His figure kept flickering, and every time he moved, he would bring along the power of thunder and lightning. It was as if he was teleporting, and he avoided the Abyss Demon Master's grasp. Although the power of space was magical, in front of the Abyss Demon Master, if he used the power of space, it would be like showing off in front of an expert. Putting aside the fact that the Abyssal Demon Lord's cultivation had already reached the acme of perfection in terms of the power of space, just by relying on his own tyrannical strength, any space would be torn to shreds by him. Even if one hid in the depths of space, it would be useless, as one would be instantly pulled out. At this time, the only thing that Yi Shiwen could rely on to escape was his speed, which was extremely fast. Go and die! The Abyssal Demon Lord continued to roar. In an instant, both parties had already disappeared thousands of miles away. However, in the starry skies of the universe, thousands of miles was nothing. To the starry skies of the universe, such a distance was nothing. The chase between the two was still going on. Yi Shiwen could fly all the way to the planet where the various races were gathered. At this time, if he wanted to stop the Abyss Demon Master, this was the only way. Whoosh! 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 Yi Shiwen's figure kept flashing. In his golden hand, Fa Wushuang also looked at Yi Shiwen with incomparable shock. Although he had seen Yi Shiwen's speed before, at that time, Yi Shiwen did not seem to have reached this level at all. At that time, Yi Shiwen could at most compete with the ninth heavens of the celestial realm. Although at that time, they were all top powerhouses among the ninth heavens of the celestial realm, compared to the celestial realm was nothing. Whoosh! When Yi Shiwen's figure appeared again, he was already close to the planet where the Alliance meeting was being held. Both sides chased each other all the way, leaving countless planets behind them. But up until now, Yi Shiwen was still steadily leaving the Abyss Demon Master behind. This movement technique and strength completely shocked Fa Wushuang. Even if this was only an incarnation of the Abyss Demon Master, not everyone could do it. Even Fa Wushuang himself could not, unless he had reached a certain realm. At that time, it would not only be a problem of escaping, he might even have the intention to fight with the Abyss Demon Master at the same realm. The Abyss Demon Master finally stopped chasing. After all, if he wanted to rush to the planet where the Alliance was gathered with an incarnation, it was equivalent to seeking his own death. Seeing that they finally scared off the Abyss Demon Master, the two of them slightly breathed a sigh of relief, especially Fa Wushuang. Just now, he had been relying on his last breath to hang on to his life, not daring to stop for even a moment. At this time, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Now that the Abyss Demon Master knows that I am here, I am afraid that he will add me to his list of targets. Yi Shiwen smiled self-deprecatingly. It was not a good thing for anyone to be stared at by such a terrifying figure. Just now, it was only his soul incarnation. For a true Abyss Devil Lord, it was far more terrifying. Ha 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 ha. In this world, besides those big figures that can shake the world, how many people can enter the discerning eyes of the Abyss Demon Master, able to become his target to kill? Yi Shiwen, you can be considered the first since ancient times, right? A mere heaven realm actually made a figure like the Abyss Demon Master want to kill you. Fa Wushuang laughed boldly. Yi Shiwen thought for a moment, and it seemed to be true, but he said, "Sooner or later, I will do it. Letting him escape from my hands is enough to make my name known in the world." Fa Wushuang was stunned for a moment, looked at Yi Shiwen, and then laughed loudly. Right now, Yi Shiwen being able to escape from the hands of the Abyss Demon Master was already enough to make his name known in the world, but he said that sooner or later, he would turn this situation upside down. At this time, he couldn't help but admire Yi Shiwen's ambition. It was even higher than his. He originally thought that he was already free and easy enough, that his ambition was higher than the sky, but he didn't think that Yi Shiwen seemed to be even more arrogant than him. Being able to escape from the hands of a figure like the Abyss Demon Master, for him, seemed to be far from enough. Fa Wushuang laughed for a while, and because the injuries on his body were affected, he began to cough continuously. I don't dare to say for others, but for you, maybe that day will really come. However, such a fun thing, always count me in. Fa Wushuang coughed for a long time, and then replied, All right, let's hurry back and report the news. If we let the Abyss Demon Clan have their way, then I'm afraid that this matter will really be big. At this time, it had already been a few days since Yi Shiwen and F.A. Wushuang left. The two had just returned and instantly attracted countless gazes. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.